Right, welcome.
Right, well, yeah, let's go for it, dude.
I'm well excited about this one.
Welcome back to Funny on the Money. We've got a new guest here.
I think this marks the start of series 2, actually.
Series 2.
Series 2. So series 1, by the way, we started talking about we're scared of making a jump. Are we gonna do it? We knew we were gonna do it, but how are we gonna do it? And the last episode of series 1, we'd made the jump. Elliot's kind of like part way through, because I'd made the jump and I'd quit and I'd started doing it full time from the last episode. Elliot's kind of got a notice period.
I realised I made it out as though I was like, right, fuck it, I'm doing it, I'm cutting loose, I can go. And then actually money was coming in 2 months after, 3 months after. I was like, right, I actually need to do something, make sure I do something that actually keeps the money coming in regularly. For a little bit, but free up a bit more time. So I'm still working 2-3 days a week at the moment.
So you're phasing out.
I'm phasing out. Yeah, exactly.
Slow and steady.
I'm on the switch. So you can be part of the jump, and then I'll sort of make a different podcast.
Yeah, I'm jump reaching back for you, come on.
I did feel as though I had to follow you in, and I was like, can I make it work? I just won't eat for the next week. If I just cut out
dipping your toes.
3 months. No.
Oh, is it down there? You're right.
Yeah. 3 months, no food. I'll be all right, mate. Don't you worry about that.
But we're not even going to introduce you. We're going to let you do that, because our first question is always, who are you? And who are you?
It's the most David Brent moment of your life, by the way.
Yeah, it's a bit cringeworthy. I was just saying before we recorded, you always feel a bit self-indulgent when you talk about yourself.
100%.
So you don't mind talking about things you know about.
Yeah.
When it's about yourself, you're like, oh shit. But I'm Stuart. Hello, chaps.
Lovely to meet you, Stuart.
And your company is over there.
Just behind me, Yellow Panther. So I'm one of the founders. There's me and Gunjan.
Yeah.
We've been going actually 6 years, but I joined the business around 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So Yellow Panther, we're a digital studio. We build tech products, software, mobile applications, websites, e-commerce platforms, do a bit of VR and AR. We've built some games.
Yeah.
Based out of 3 offices. So we have an office in India.
Yeah.
Office here at Leamington Spa and one in Manchester. We're 33 in size, and we've worked with some cool brands like Nike, Rajasthan Royals, Van Moof, an e-bike company.
Rajasthan Royals, are they, forgive me, are they in the IPL?
They're a volleyball team.
Are they?
No, it's IPL.
You know volleyball, do you?
No.
So there's late night bets.
Yeah. Third division women's game in Rwanda or something like that.
They'll win.
It's coming in, mate. They're coming in, honestly.
Tenner on.
But you're right. They're an Indian cricket team. They're playing the IPL. So one of the biggest sports tournaments.
So what have you done for them?
I actually used to work for them.
Yeah.
So I used to live between Mumbai and London.
I thought you had a twang.
Great country. I worked for them for a short amount of time, but it was a bit too much in terms of travel. I was away from home a lot.
Yeah.
When you go to the IPL, you're away not just for weeks, for months.
Yeah.
I'm now a dad, and my missus Frankie, she's like, Stu, come on, you can't keep traveling the world, because the 2 previous jobs that I had, I was away from home probably 40% of the time.
Yeah.
And we've got a little boy who's 2. It's just not fair, is it, on your partner when you've got you're schlepping around Mumbai? And I think it's mine's a little bit.
Might have to switch it, to be fair, in a minute. Or is it mine?
No.
Is it Stu's?
I'll switch it quick.
I'm going to fully blame it on Stu, to be honest.
Did you switch it? Did you give him that?
No, I didn't give him that one. I didn't stitch him up.
It's always you that normally has it.
No, it's not, Stu. I've tried to play around with that to make myself a little bit taller, but you do sink down a little bit. But
Sorry.
You're all good.
I need some WD-40.
You're in.
So yeah, the time side of things, you had to the missus wanted you to just be around a bit more. And are you around more?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously the office is here. I live an 8-minute walk away. So it's absolutely golden. So I can finish work, pack my bag up, I can bring my dog into work, and then I'm home to see my little boy, cook dinner and hang out. So, and the other thing means I'm just not up stupidly early to commute into London or to get a flight somewhere. So
what was Mumbai like? Sorry to jump in, but was it intense?
Yeah, that's a good word. Mad.
Yeah.
You have to open yourself up to the city. Because Brits, we love to queue up. If there's a queue, we'll just join it because we think, oh, fuck it, there's a massive queue there. Why not just join the fun? In Mumbai, there's no one knows what a queue is.
Yeah.
It's a bum fight everywhere. Getting onto an aeroplane, getting off, trying to get like a little rickshaw to go around the city,
Yeah.
queuing up for food. People just barge past you and order. You have to kind of embrace it.
Yeah.
It's madness. I can remember I flew in on the first day, got to the airport, and literally they got the flight times wrong in terms of having a car to pick me up to take me to the hotel. And I've never been to Mumbai before.
Yeah.
And the airport's actually lovely, but fucking full of people everywhere.
Yeah.
And I walk outside, and it's like 40 degrees, 100% humidity, dripping with sweat. And then eventually, like an hour and a half later, outside, I get picked up. You could take my clothes off and wring it and probably fill up a pint.
Yeah.
But I can remember the next morning I woke up and I got up early, and I didn't realise that in India, the working hours are a lot different. So, you know,
right.
we're quite traditional, aren't we, here?
Yeah.
9 to 5. It's more like you start between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m.
Yeah.
and you work till 7, 8 at night. And I can remember walking to the office, had no change of clothes. The office was only like a 15-minute walk away from the hotel. I was just turned up, just wet through.
Oh, nice.
But I got to the office before anyone else arrived. So actually what I did is I turned up, got in, security let me in. Basically, I was just like the wettest man in the world. Walked back to the hotel, showered again, changed, took another load of clothes with me in my backpack.
Yeah.
Got to the office again, was wet through.
Nice.
Got changed at the office, and at that time, the first person had walked in at like 10. So,
Oh my
How
god.
to endear yourself to your new colleagues, man.
well,
Yeah.
I
Also,
am
how
sweaty
clear was
now.
your head to think I'm going to go home, get a pack of clothes, and then come back again? That's clear head. That
You
is.
could see the hotel from the office, so it wasn't too far, but it's so hot.
I was asking my mate,
Wow.
so I have a mate, he's from, I think he's from Kerala, and I was saying, like, what's the difference between here and there? And he was just like, right, honestly, the only difference is, the only couple of differences are that it's relatively the same, but it's 10 times as busy, and there will always randomly somewhere be a goat.
or
And
a
I was-
cow.
yeah, and he was like, I was like, what do you mean? He was like, right, driving down the motorway, like, it will be 10 times as busy, but everyone's on the road. But randomly in the middle of the motorway, there might just be a goat stood in the middle. I was like, what a great analogy. Like,
Yeah, you sit outside, you're having a pint or a coffee, and just a pack of dogs will appear.
yeah.
And it's potluck if they're nice, or they just turn on you.
Fucking hell.
It's like a night out. It's like a night out in Birmingham.
But yeah, it is madness. And like you're driving along, and then there's just a cow in the roads, or a horse.
In my head, I just had the image of like the Warriors. You remember the Warriors, the film where they all go around and they're the gangs that beat each other up?
No,
That
sorry.
reference doesn't work. So the one listener might know what that is. Or quadrophenia, all right? We'll just go quadrophenia. We know that, right?
I don't.
Okay, well, I tell you what you need
No
to do.
cultural relevance.
Brush up on your fucking classic films, all right? Before the next podcast, don't research the guests.
Sorry.
Watch some films.
Okay.
So sorry, mate, I interrupted.
No,
but-
I've just got to say that I wouldn't be paid by the Indian Tourism Board for what I've just said. It is a wonderful country, but you just have to go with the flow. It's like when you go to the Caribbean, if you've ever been,
Yeah.
you have to accept that life's just slower there.
Yeah.
In Mumbai, you have to accept that life's just dialed up. You know, on YouTube, when you can make people talk quicker,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like that. And you can get in a rickshaw. And I can remember the second rickshaw I got, my boss at the Royals took us out for a few beers, and he had to kind of do a U-turn on like a motorway.
Yeah.
He just, you know, like the pillars for where a bridge is set.
Yeah.
He just drove into them.
Nice.
But he just didn't give a shit. And like cars just drive into each other, and it's fine. It's like wacky races. It's just wild. Like potholes everywhere. You're like, holy fuck, like what's happened to this place? But Mumbai's obviously been built up and built up.
Yeah.
And people that live in rural India have moved to it because the economy,
Yeah,
there's more
yeah.
jobs, more opportunity. But they've just kind of built and built and built and built.
Yeah.
And it's just a mad sprawl of like palatial places, but yet across the road there'll be a slum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can remember where the offices were. I'd go outside and have a cigarette with another member of the team, and you could just see over this wall, and there's the river. And then you've got people just, you know, washing in the river, or, you know, taking a
Yeah.
shit, and it's just weird that you've got people here having a cigarette in a beautiful office, smoking, earning good
watching.
money, and then you can see
Watching them take a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clapping him through it like, fucking hell, mate.
and it's a bit, it's quite upsetting when you see it.
Yeah.
But then when you see it every day, obviously you become more numb to it.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a strange country. I think to explain what India's like, people seem to think India's just a nation. It's not. There's
Yeah.
over 36 languages. every state is governed a little bit like the US by its government in that state. The education system is different in each state. Every city is completely different in terms of like the opportunities, the way it looks. Some are very like British, some aren't, some are more modern, but it's a melting pot of cultures. So you got to look at each state as a country in a way. And India's a huge place, but it's like Europe.
Yeah.
So.
Did you keep up to speed with the protests that were happening in India?
The farming ones?
Yeah, the farming one over like winter and stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. I can't profess to be an expert.
Yeah, and I can't either, but I've got a lot of friends that are Indian and have got families that are from there as well. And those protests were like pretty severe in terms of like what they were fighting for. It was like the farmers fighting against the corporates for taking their farms away from them. Well, not away from them, but like making everything a lot cheaper so that the farmers were the ones missing out on money because the corporates are like taking over them. Essentially, I think that's what it is. But a lot of like the Indian families that you have in Leamington have come from the farmers' generation. Like I'm from an Irish farming generation type thing. So they're all. It matters a lot to those people.
Yeah.
But the protests were like severe in terms of you've got all the farmers doing the kind of drive into. I don't know if it was Mumbai or if it was another big like city, and they were having to like sleep. Didn't have any food on the way. Other people were like dropping in food and like helping them get to their destination. But it was horrible. It was really, really. I don't know. Actually, I haven't heard a final end to that. Actually, from in the UK, you kind of things get a little bit.
I don't know.
No, that's the next bit of the podcast. He goes, I'm actually on the board of the Farmers Union in India.
I'm fighting for it.
I've done some work over there. I developed an app.
To be fair, if someone listening to this didn't know about that, it's still nice to like.
I'd love to go. I think that was one place that I. Again, we've talked about me being a bit of a wanky kid that's been travelling, but like I would generally love to go to India.
I don't think you'd handle that though.
I would.
Anxiety levels would be.
I think once you like put yourself, like it's the same thing like a frog in a bucket, right? You don't know that once you're in it, like you probably at the start think, oh shit, like I want to go home or whatever. But actually, once you accept that that's the way. When you said about the Caribbean, I was literally like, that's my pace of life, man. Slow it down, bro.
But then India's the opposite.
Yeah, it depends where you go. So like Jaipur in Rajasthan, still busy, but it's probably the size of a Birmingham, Manchester.
Right.
But it's beautiful. Like the buildings are pink. There's a lot of history there. Bangalore's a bit like Manchester. It's a bit of a tech hub. Yeah. Really trendy. A lot of hipsters. Breweries, cafes, bars, live music everywhere. Yeah. It's really cool. I'd say Bangalore, if you're a Brit, would be quite a seamless place to live. Yeah. Chandigarh, which is in the north, beautiful, very British looking. It's a little bit like Bath in a way. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's just really varied. Like Kolkata is like Mumbai, but just dialed down a little bit, but it's the other side of the country. It's on the east. Yeah. Bombay's on the west. And then you got Goa and Kerala that you mentioned. Yeah. That's like mountains, but also white sandy beaches and palm trees. It's really varied, mate. But
well, you've kind of answered the other question on the agenda, is like where have you come from? But like so how long did you spend in India?
I'd live in a hotel for like a month, come back for a month, live in a hotel for 6 weeks.
It was back and forth rather than you were just placed there.
Yeah, whilst many of my mates that I worked with who were British actually lived there. It was quite nice because they would take you to nice bars and restaurants.
Right. You're treated in that period.
Yeah, like you worked hard, but also you drank hard and partied hard.
Do they booze? Is it like a boozing nation, is it? Well, not like...
Sikhs are.
Not like the UK. What? Are they?
Irish. It's basically just Irish and Polish.
What?
That's how they drink and eat, and their families.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, wow. It's the best comparison from my experience. I'm not saying that's everyone, but like, a generalisation.
I didn't know, like, that's what I'm saying. I'd love to.
They're a fucking great time.
I'd just go and then just be like, is this what people do? Like, this is cool.
Well, I guess that depends on the regions and stuff, doesn't it? Because that's how the religions are separated. Not separated, but like in certain regions, you'll have a certain religion that won't drink or eat meat or things like that. I was
saying, I used to go out with a girl. I don't know if I said this before, but she was half Indian and they were Hindu, and it was her granddad's like 95th like birthday. I was at uni, like hadn't kind of branched out anywhere past Europe or America.
Or exotic.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, fucking straight abroad, find the British pub, like all of that shit. So I went out with this girl who was like she was half Indian, but she didn't look Indian whatsoever, whereas her siblings like did. and they took me down to her granddad's like 95th birthday. Bear in mind they're like, it's like a massive family. We're all embarking in London, and you know the song, like the song that comes on. I can't remember what the song. But I thought that was
the
like
English song.
I thought that was stereotyping, and I was like, oh, that's what people do when and it's stereotyping. Bear in mind, me and her are the only like white looking people at the place, and it did literally they threw the music on, everybody's dancing, everybody's got to go, and but I was sat there going, I can't do this, man. I'm not participating in this. I look like I'm taking the piss. And then they just threw me up on the dance floor. Me and her were just going at it.
But then they love it. They love that you're there.
They were
doing
loving
that.
it. They were whizzing me around, everything. Yeah. And I was I literally looked like the most fucking weirdest kid, the one white kid on the fucking dance floor. But it's great fun, brilliant.
All this kind of mesh of culture. One of the film ideas that we're developing at the moment, because like I say, I've been involved in that culture for since kind of university, or since school basically, and it involves a mixed marriage. So the idea is a Indian girl marrying a white guy, and then basically the Irish family and Indian family being forced together.
Oh, yeah.
And it's over one weekend. Well, the wedding's a 4-day weekend, a 4-day event. So it's just placed over that 4 days. Without saying too much, because it's not it's our idea, but we haven't done. Yeah, that's it.
If anyone wants to run with that, by the way.
But that's why I'm so fascinated with it.
Don't tell them the whole fucking...
Have it.
You're gonna do the script now in a second, man.
No, but it's a story that I just want to learn more about and tell. But yeah, that's a. So did you start your company while you're working? Did you start Yellow Panther while you're working for?
No, so I hired Yellow Panther when I worked for the Rajasthan Royals. So that's where I met Gunjan. So
they poached you.
Sneaky.
Yeah, a bit.
They poached you.
I actually met Gunjan near Stafford at a McDonald's before I flew out to India. So Gunjan's from Ahmedabad in Gujarat originally, but he's lived in Manchester for 20 years, done a PhD, had a kid here and settled here. But he formed Yellow Panther 6.5, 7 years ago, and essentially it was a development arm of a business that never really marketed itself. So it'd get work from Gunjan's Black Book of Contacts, and it only really had 4 or 5 different clients, but it had about 15 developers that worked across website development and mobile apps. Mm-hmm. And basically, they built all of the Rajasthan Royals' digital products, so website, app, shop, games, that type of thing.
Well, they're all based in the UK.
No, Gunjan was the only one based in the UK at the time.
Yeah.
The developers are based in an office, really nice high-rise building in Ahmedabad. And so I left the Rajasthan Royals, and Gunjan basically called me when I got back to the UK, and he knew that I wanted to set up my own agency, but I didn't have 200 grand.
Yeah,
I couldn't just hire people. I'd have to bootstrap it. I knew it'd be pretty much impossible to do it and do it properly. So Gunjan basically said to me, he went, well, my strength is software development and project management. Your strength, Stuart, is more around brand and sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Why don't you come in? I'll give you 50% of the business. Let's rebrand and relaunch it. Use my Black Book of Contacts. I've got a lot because of my background in sport. So I said, fuck it, let's do it.
How many years ago was this?
This was, we had this conversation 20 months ago, but I went fully into it 18 months ago. So it's still been pretty recent.
Yeah.
But
it's a nice time frame that is compared to what we're talking about, 18 months. And I've seen your stuff online as well. It looks like it's a lot more deeper than that. 18 months isn't really that long in terms of business, but you've obviously, sorry, carry on talking because I don't want to jump in.
It's an interesting point that you make. I think brand perception's key in anything you set up. Whilst when I first jumped in 18 months ago, we had 15, 16 employees, but we've done some cool projects. So we had some great case studies. Mm-hmm. And because of my background in marketing, I think we were able to create kind of a website, social media presence, sales decks, case studies that actually showcased the agency, or we call it a digital studio. It made it appear bigger than what it was or is.
Oh, I do that a lot.
It's like everything, isn't it? Peacocking, but it's true, though, isn't it? You're hustling, and it's just that first impression is so important for anything that you're pitching or selling or any service that you've got. Look, we were a small team, but we've
So you doubled in that time.
We got 33 employees
No
now,
way.
and it was literally just me and Gunjan and his son in the UK when we first started. And now we've got a project management team here of 4.
Yeah.
I've got a content manager. We've got another salesperson in Manchester. So we've grown quite quickly. We've got 7 people in the UK, and we've got 26 in India now. So we've added another 11 employees in India as well. So
Yeah.
and we've literally just hired 2 more people as well. So that's great. The growth's good, but fuck me, my anxiety levels and the pressure of like paying people now, it's real. It's not just about making a margin and then potentially paying yourself. You've got to pay everyone else before you pay yourself. And that for me is the one thing that I've massively struggled with in terms of like anxiety, sleepless nights. Like having a son that does not sleep means that you're literally on fumes all the time. And then you heighten the tiredness with shit, can I pay the bills? And like one thing that just really eats away at me, and I've gone deep already, I know.
No.
No, because I think you're speaking to him, and he's like palpitations in there.
Oh my god, yeah. No,
It's just fucking hard. And I'd say maybe 70% of your clients, whilst I love them, never pay on time. And
that affects a lot.
Yeah, you forecast them, you do cash flows, and you think this revenue is going to come in this month, but it doesn't. It comes in 2 months, 3 months, sometimes even 6 months later. And you're like, oh, fuck, how am I going to pay people? But I kind of feel like we've just got over that. I've really struggled with it. It's been bloody hard. I've been like literally, it's close, I think, to making me ill.
Have you got like a bank?
Oh.
Like, have you got a bank of stuff that you can go back to, or if you've got like 3 months, as in like, do the doors close in 3 months? You don't have to kind of give away your whole P&L there.
Well, I'll just go into the office.
Get
Bring
the
book back.
spreadsheet out.
No, it's
I'll probably crash it and break the sums, but
at the moment we've got enough money in the bank to sustain the business for probably 5 to 6 months, but we're due quite a few payments in the next 2 months, which will sustain the business for about a year, which that then gives me a bit of comfort.
It's just getting it, isn't it?
is that the scary?
Put it in the bank.
Is that the scariest thing overall? Sorry, my nose is just blocked out, bro.
Is there something you're not telling
I
us?
don't know if it's hay fever. Probably. It is hay fever, yeah. No, is that the scariest thing that you find? Like, you love all of the stuff. I'm guessing like you love all the stuff that you do in the day. You like all of that bit, but it's this almost like this background bit, which is just the thing that you like. And then when you're doing it, you're like, all I want to do is get over there. And when you're doing this, then you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to fucking go back over there and do this. And it's a horrible bit, like the input, like I'm nowhere near invoicing or doing anything like that. But I hate asking. Like, I really, really hate asking. But I guess, like, when you hate asking, but you're, like, then responsible for other people. If I don't ask, like, and I
you
just
don't
let,
get.
yeah, but if I don't ask, I can sort myself out because I'm only kind of responsible for me. So I don't have to turn up the pressure on people because I can do something over there and I can find a way around it for me. But when you know that you've got other people that are reliant and they probably don't have the same ways and means of being able to manipulate, like, move things around, like, I could imagine that's the real kind of crux that gets you.
It does. Like, when you work for somebody else, you get your salary at the end of the month, you get your benefits, you can go home and, within reason, put your laptop down and focus on your family. But when you're responsible for paying people's salaries who've got mortgages and rent to pay and stuff, it's hard.
How bad's it got?
Bad, really bad with my anxiety. Like, I think 3 or 4 years ago I suffered with it with a previous job just because it was relentless, but I've never in my life really suffered from it. It's definitely been depression and it's definitely been anxiety. Like, it's been really hard, really, really tough. And my partner's been worried because you just cannot get away from it. A day with a family on a Sunday is kind of the one, and I play a bit of cricket as well, is the one kind of solace when you're just with your little boy and it's just the two of you. It takes you away from those problems. Or if you're batting in cricket, all you're focusing on is the ball.
Yeah. You're in flow.
And you switch off from. But as soon as you get out or you put your little boy to bed, then I can't help those kind of constant worries that creep in.
Yeah.
And it does. And I think the other thing, I think I'm a bit more cognizant because I'm 36 now. I think if I did this when I was, let's say, in my late 20s or 30, I think it may have broken me. But I understand that I've got friends that have set up businesses. They've gone through the same thing. I've spoken to them, and I'm a bit more wiser that business isn't easy, and there's things you can do to offset it, and routines and reframing kind of bad thoughts. But I know it's a cliche, but talking about it, exercising, trying to rest, it does help, but it's near enough impossible when you're a dad.
Yeah.
You've touched on quite a few things that I've wanted to talk to you about, to be fair, but all of what you said, obviously it's been really hard, but it's really good, I think, for us to hear, because everyone so far, and what we've kind of said is, if you're going to make the jump and follow your passion, it has this kind of like fairy tale type look of it, and everyone says, just do it, fuck it, do it. And we've held on both ourselves, and we've done it at different points. It's taken me 8 years to jump, and I've done a lot of like planning, and I've got kids as well, another kid on the way, so having these things carefully planned for, so I've got a bit of leeway, is really, really important. I can't just click my fingers and say, yeah, I've quit my job, let's go make some money, 'cause it won't. But it's a really good angle for us to hear and see, because it isn't all kind of like glory. There are some dark days. There are. Well, not with the business, because I've not been doing it full time for long. But I remember when I had my first son, I was 21, 22, and I just got my first job, and it was 15 grand a year. And Kaylin's mom wasn't working before, so she didn't get like a maternity. I remember we were in Sainsbury's and we were buying dinner and buying like a food shop, and we had a whole chicken on the self-checkout, and I just said, I'm not going to scan that. Because I was like...
Anthony Worrell Thompson over here, by the way.
Living on the edge.
You love that.
I remember the chicken story, yeah.
Do you remember it?
Was that Marks and Spencer?
He got like caught, he got clocked robbing, and he was like, yeah, I'm really sorry, I'm addicted to robbing. I was like, well, go on then, mate, you justify it, but...
I mean, it's obviously...
I robbed a chicken, yeah.
It's low-level crime we're talking about, but I was just like... We were at that point where, like, things were always on the line. Like, we were... not to, like, kind of cry about it or anything, but it was just, like, really shit. Like,
what did it taste like? Did it taste of guilt?
No, it tasted better.
And I can also say, this was way before they started. Now they put the fucking cameras there.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know even if they're allowed to like video you, but they're like almost holding a mirror up to you.
Yeah.
So
seeing what you've scanned.
Even if there's like a lime, and I'm like, I'm fucking lime in there, and I'll look up and then I'm looking back at myself like, is this the person you want to be? Is
yeah, exactly. Telling you.
Fucking limes, and
look
I'm
yourself
like,
in the mirror. Is that really you?
Yeah. They don't actually use that to clock people. They just use it so you look at yourself and go, I'm robbing a chicken here. Yeah, I'm fucking robbing a chicken here.
Did you stuff it in your pocket?
Yeah.
I don't know where it went, but it was for me. I just always remember that story, and it. I'm sure there's going to be other like really kind of like low memories you have, but different to you, I guess, is I've set it up with just freelancers, so there's only myself and the other director that we have to worry about in terms of like a wage. And then everyone else is a freelancer, and then employees wise, I'm taking that quite slow. I want to same as you, we'll need a project manager first and foremost, and that will hopefully be my wife. I said that before.
And you can only really do that when you get the more big ticket clients, or a client on a decent retainer that gives you that comfort. And that's when you've got to stick and twist. But I think you have to accept, first 2 years of business, you're going to make hardly any money, but it's getting your infrastructure in place, building your client list, building trust, and then bringing in talented people. And the biggest word of advice for anything that I've done is, do not rush when you bring in someone. Take your bloody time to find out why they want to work for you, what they offer, are they a good fit. Don't pick some chopper.
What are you laughing at?
She's screwed.
Right. So sorry. So this is just reminding me of a story. So I basically, but you can make mistakes. I always got told, make mistakes with other people's money first, right? And then you learn your lessons. Hence what you were saying about, like, when you're on the PAYE and stuff like that, you can take more risks, because I've only recently now started understanding, like, I've always been, like, on that. So I've, like, only recently more so understanding, like, oh shit, like, if I don't get out of bed today, like, I don't get out of bed. Like, nothing happens if I don't make the wheels. But I've, like, got a bit of responsibility with it. Keep yourself within the framework. Don't get me wrong. I still go out on Saturday, but I'm like, right, I need to try and rein this in, or whatever it is. but I've only got myself at this point. However, what that just reminded me of when you said, right, get the right people in when you're hiring someone. So I used to look after I used to look after a team of like field sales reps that would go out and like sell to like a large, well, they're not going to fucking sue me, are they? Tesco. So they'd go into Tesco's and they'd go to the managers and be like, look, we've got this promotion. Let me put a big display here. That way we'll fucking sell more and all this shit. So we had like a gap in one of our areas where one of the kids like came on. And by this point, I was just like, I'm so bored of fucking interviewing people. I was like, this kid came in and I was like, what's your name? And he was like, it's whatever. And I was like, fuck it, you're in. Right. If he can just do 6 months and just put a plug in this bit, and then because I've got like leaky buckets, so yeah. I was like, if he can just come in and do a job and whatever it is. And by the way, fucking awful, like absolutely awful.
What was his name?
Oh no, I can't. and
Brian.
Like he's gone on to do whatever he needs to go and do now. He was definitely like, he just came for a job, and I was just like, right, just fucking have the job. He's gone and done whatever he loves and stuff like that, which is fair play to him. But you have to have the brutal conversation where it's like, this ain't working out, mate. And I knew at the point, I knew there was a point where he wasn't performing really well, and I was going, oh fucking, I've proper fucked up here. Like I've proper fucked up. So I then had to do the horrible, like, you know, go and like manage someone out basically, and just be like, look, if I'm going to be with you, you've got to be giving me everything. Otherwise, if you're not up for it, just go and make it easier for both of us. And I was like, right, you're going to have to come and meet me. Bear in mind, his job was going into Tesco stores, finding the manager, influencing him, and making him do what it is to do the product. I was like, right, you've got to meet me in this pub at 2 because we're going to have a chat. And outside of the pub, he texted me and went, where are you in there? And I was like, what do you mean, where am I? I'm in the pub. And he was like, yeah, but I've got this thing where I don't like walking into places and I don't know where the person is that I can't find.
Bless him.
And I literally went, it's your entire fucking job, mate.
What happens if you can't find a manager in Tesco?
I was literally like, and do you know when you just go, and do you know when you just look at something and go, oh, for fuck's sake.
Would he only walk down like the quiet aisles then? So like, it must take him an ages to get to aisle 7. Aisle 4, then 8. And then he made it to 7.
Mate, I've literally just
He's in Tesco ringing that store. I'm looking for your manager.
Where's
right?
the manager? Where's the manager?
I'm in it.
I was literally just having this idea that he just like got to the front door and then was just like couldn't go, and there was like a force field. And when he said that, I just went. So when you said that, I was like, right, yeah, I wish I'd have taken it. I wish someone had fucking told me that earlier. Because that was a tragic fucking...
I mean, he had the chance in the interview that you didn't give him a chance for. You just
no,
gave him the
and
job.
To be fair,
that
was me. But then again, like, to circle it back to this, that was me then not particularly... I'd run dry on what I was doing, and I was then wanting to go and make the jump into my own life, and I'd found my other thing on the other side. So then I stopped really properly doing like the due diligence on things. I'd become slack because I'd found something over there that I wanted to put my heart and soul into.
Basically, because you didn't give a shit about Tesco.
Yeah.
Essentially,
I loved it to start with, and then I'd just done it for done it for X amount of time, and I'd just gone, I'm here. So I think it cost the business a lot of money with that. And if that fella is listening, look, I'm really glad you're happy now, mate. But yeah, it's a bit hard, really. So.
I mean, it's good advice.
What I'm basically saying is,
it is good advice.
Is sound advice, like really sound advice.
Yeah, and I don't want to rush to get to the point that I have to hire people or want to hire people. I mean, I'd love to. It sounds great, doesn't it? But all the things that you've said is why I don't want to yet. I need to sort my own stuff out and make sure that I'm getting the money that, because you've probably gone through, I'm trying to have enough money that it covers our household, because she's going to be on maternity leave for however many months. So it's, I mean, primarily next year it's us. That's what happens first. And then I think as well, what I'm trying to create, like the freelancer thing's working well at the moment because you don't have the responsibility and you can bring them on jobs.
It offsets risk.
Yeah. And we've got a network, and yes, you might pay for them like more handsomely than you would if you were hiring someone. But yeah, like when there's not a job or there's a colder month, you don't have that going on as well. And for example, so this next month, June and July for me, I was always like a bit worried about because baby's coming 2 weeks time. How are we going to make enough money to kind of be covered in those months. And things have happened and come around, and there are jobs, and it's just like a hell of a lot of organisation. So, right, you freelancer, you're doing that one. We've got someone else editing it. And maybe 3 months ago, I didn't have these people in my network to actually give the jobs. So it's really weird. I've just been sat at home, like, talking about it. It's like, there's a good amount of money we're still making, and I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just doing the planning and then the overseeing and like kind of directing the people where to be. And for me at the moment, I'm like, that's very good. I'm very happy where things stand with that. But like you say, when there's like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 projects happening at the same time, I can't do all that.
Oh, mate.
So then you will need people in your system to do that for you, because it's just not manageable.
So me and Gunjan were managing 12 projects together at one point, and we're both just drowning in work. And that was like, Gunjan, we've got enough projects now to bring someone in. Gunjan's a bit more risk averse. I'm a bit more like positive and aggressive. I was like, let's hire someone. And so put a job spec out, and maybe she's listening, maybe she's not to this, but I hired someone, and then they pulled out. And then and she was great. Sorry,
Fucking hell, Elliot.
Oh no!
I'm so immature. I'm really sorry.
So
Not
It's
even
the
had
little,
one pint
it's,
yet.
it's just the little thing in my head that always plays with the double meanings of phrases and 2 words. I'm really sorry.
see him in the corner of my eye just
But
going,
carry on. She pulled out.
But yeah, she pulled out of the job, and she was great.
Yeah.
But I was really disappointed. And obviously you stick a job application out job roll out on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You have your end date. 3 days after the cut-off date, I got an email from, her name was Sophie, and she was like, I live 2 streets away from Mill Street, and I've been doing a job for 2.5 years for a tech company in London, because it's been COVID, I've hardly been in the office, I fancy a change. And I interviewed her, and she was great, and she's joined. Oh, and what a gun she is. She's just unbelievable. She's a weapon in project management. Like, she honestly, mate, like she did English at Leeds University, got first. Everything she does is just
detail.
She's more intelligent than me.
Yeah.
I think whatever she'll do in her life, if it's with us for a few years or she moves on to something else,
She'll be class.
She'll end up being a CEO or in her own company, because she's so impressive.
They always say to hire people
Sophie,
better than you.
Because she might actually listen to this. So shout out for Sophie for being shout out for Sophie being a good, well-structured, well-rounded human being.
And literally, she can bowl out of bed and just roll here, which is great for her. But yeah, she's a gun. Another person I hired, I used to work for the ATP Tour, the men's tennis tour, and just someone that stands out. I can remember I went to Finland with my family over Christmas, but I was so busy work-wise because I was building this team up. I sifted through in Finland like 300 CVs and applications, and he was the least experienced, but he put the most effort into his CV and his application. It was really bespoke, and he did a report of our social media channels and what he would do better. Wow. And nobody else did that. So I gave him an interview, and he was a graduate. He did 6 months work experience for Aussie Rules football, but that was his only work experience in his whole life. Yeah. And he was a weapon as well, and worked hard, super smart, creative. And it just goes to show that whilst experience is important, you don't need it, I don't think, today. I think you've got to be open to like grads, even people out of school. Yeah. As long as they've got the mindset, they're driven, they want to work for you and better themselves. Just accept that they're going to leave you eventually and let them fly. Because I bet we all wish that was the case when we were applying for jobs. Because like they'll say, you haven't got enough experience. I'm like, yes, that's why I'm applying for this fucking job. Annoying, someone give me some experience. But that's the flip side of obviously bad employees and having to worry about all that. When you find a good one, like how much better it makes your job or your life, I guess, because they take away a lot of the worries. They're fixing them or they're doing them better than what you can do at 50%. So there is a flip side and a positive out of there. But related to your story, so I've had this inquiry come through, phone call. I was sat upstairs working here, and she said, I homeschool an 8-year-old boy, and just wondering whether you do training. He's fascinated in video editing and stuff like that. I was like, okay, not something we normally do, but tell me a little bit more about him. And she was like, he's autistic, he's homeschooled because he can't be in social environments, and he loves YouTube and the game, like the YouTube gamers.
essentially. I was like, thinking about it, I was like, let me email you, or you email me kind of what the kind of formal details would be. Is it weekly? How long do you want to do it for? And I've got a fascination with autism anyway, because I think my son, when he was up until like 3-4 years old, everyone's on the spectrum essentially, but he was showing like signs of like more than others. And I said yes to it after she came back to me, which she did. And it wasn't about money. It was more just like, this could be really interesting. This just could be an eye-opener. And again, another TV program that we're developing has an autistic kind of level in it. It's a kids TV program, and it's got an autism angle that we want to just shine some light on. And I think this is just about the kind of like being open for someone and wanting to like lift them up. And like you would with a team. Like if you've got someone who's got no experience, great. That means that you can help shape their experience in a positive way. Anyway, I went round to their house to do the session. I had no idea what I was going to do. I've never taught in a professional level before. Kind of went in, like, just asked us, like, am I okay to handshake, or like, is there any things I need to be aware of? Because obviously sometimes they can, like, autistic kids don't like touch, for example. I don't know. I just feel like I can be, especially with having an 11-year-old. There's going to be some relation there that I can kind of get familiar with, and let him show me kind of what he does on YouTube, what games he plays, what he likes. And I brought the gimbal round, the DJI Ronin, so it's got like a few buttons and it's a bit like robotic.
Mate, I am still, playing. What the fuck is a gimbal?
Gimbals.
Hold on. Before you answer, just have a guess.
What do you think?
I think it's something that you walk around with and it swivels. A camera that swivels on it.
Yeah, so it's like that's pretty much it. It's like holding this as a axis, and you press a few buttons, and it's like robotic. So you tell it what to do, and your camera's on it.
Stabilizes the camera so it's smooth.
You got any jobs? Oh no.
But
obviously you've not been listening to podcasts. We don't do content, mate. Come on, we build software. It's different. Stick to comedy,
mate. If you are doing the, no.
You're not going to force it through.
Part of that self-censorship, mate. Go on, carry on.
But the whole session, like, he absolutely, like, it was unreal. I thought it was good, but then the mom sat me down afterwards and spoke to me, and she was like, he's beside himself. Like, he's buzzing. And he didn't want me to go. He was calling me his editor man, Knuckles by the end of it.
Fucking hell.
And then we had another session. So we've had 2 so far.
At this point, for me, it's not that I'm the oracle or anything, but the education system is broken. Because why shouldn't this boy, he's got autism, he's got an interest, why can't he change the curriculum based on the interests of what he could potentially do in the future in terms of work?
I'll get goosebumps. This is the thing with him. He could create anything. He's so bright.
Yeah.
He's insanely bright. Like, the way he could pick up, the way he just understands things that, like, this is why I'm so fascinated with autism, because it's someone that has a different energy in their brain that you can't see. So, like, if you can't see it, you dismiss it, almost. But what he, as an 8-year-old, is doing on his games and stuff, he was coding. He was coding within a game.
I've worked with kids in autism. I'm a cricket coach, and I used to work with the England disability cricket teams, so visually impaired, hearing, learning, physical. And all the young players and even and men that had autism, they obviously love cricket. They wouldn't be good at it if they didn't love it because of the autism. But when they're focused on one passion point, you're completely right. They're so focused, so engaged, and you get arguably more out of someone with autism than you do that isn't necessarily there on the spectrum. So yeah, kudos to you. Cool.
If he was like 17 and he had no experience, and I'd met him like for one of these sessions, he'd get a job, and he'd get a job as an editor. And if you sit him down, editing's very like regimental. Like, you do step 1 and then it leads to step 2 to step 3. So then it suits an autistic mind because it's black and white and you're not messing with other things coming in. But he would thrash out work from like he would just smash it. Yeah. But like you say, the education system has got no kind of like leeway for a brain like that.
Right. I was literally just saying that to the lads out there, by the way. So I think that one of the biggest ones was like my dad. So my dad works in books, so he was saying about and he's old school, and hopefully, you know, people forgive him. But his when you were saying about language and how you use language, he was like, oh yeah, well these books will work for the kids with like learning difficulties. And then someone like stopped him, and not in like a really derogatory, like not in a I know better than you should be down with this. She was just like, the thing is we kind of turn it differences now instead of difficulties. They just learn differently, as opposed to they can't learn it they've got a difficulty. Imagine if you're a kid and you're young, and you can only when you're young, you can only fucking receive about 4 bits of information in your brain. If someone says, "Oh, you've got a learning difficulty," you just think, it's difficult for me to learn, as opposed to just go, I learn in a different way because I've got differences. But I was just literally saying to the lads out there, they were talking about how I just got up and just walked off, and was just like, because my brain like went in a different way and I couldn't control it. And I said, I was like one of those kids in school. Do you remember when your mate? I don't know if you ever had the kids in school. We like when it wasn't as prevalent and people weren't as open to how like you teach kids and they've got differences and they learn a different way. And I was saying how much of like a travesty it was that there was always a kid that would be in assembly, and there'd be like 2-3 kids, and it'd be like mainstream assembly. And they'd just get up and do whatever the fuck they wanted in the middle of assembly. You'd be like, why is he getting up? What's he doing? Oh, here he is. But it was like comical as fuck. Because he'd just walk up to like the head teacher and just like pull a dress or like fucking tell her to fuck off. And you were like, this is incredible. I was like, this is material. But at the same time, like the fact that they just put the kids into the mainstream school and didn't cater for any of their needs. So then when the kids don't understand, like, there would be kids going, what are you doing? You're fucking weird. Weirdo, So then that kid's then grown up with this idea that he's weird. He's outside of like this normality bubble, when actually he was just always him. And the thing didn't kind of cater for his needs at all. And I was saying, like, how many kids have grown up through those generations? Hopefully we're getting a little bit better at it, but it's still, we've all kind of grown up with that of going, they're on the periphery, like you've got to stay in this lane.
And this is where like the education system, like, we're completely diverting off what you sent me earlier about the structure of this podcast, but
this is what happens.
We very rarely stay on it. This is my structured
If you look at the curriculum, like, obviously you want children to learn like English, science, numeracy, have a bit of history in there, learn another language. I understand that you want them to do PE, but could we open 20% up of the curriculum where we give them a suite of 30 or 40 options, where segmented parts of the day you can go and do how to create a podcast, how to code, how to video edit, how to do data analytics on social media or like websites. And that's what's not being offered, and I just don't get it. Like, you don't have to be sat in a class with one teacher now that the world's virtual. You could split that 30 class up into 8 different groups. They can go into different areas of the school and virtually learn from an expert from anywhere in the world. And then you're tailoring to their needs and their interests, and hopefully building a bridge for the future.
100%.
The curriculum is fucked, because everything I ever learnt, like my university degree, I got a 2-1 at Leeds Met, and I've worked in sport. But I didn't do. But
I got
it's not
2-2 from
me.
Leeds Met after 4 years.
Leeds Met,
What are you saying, Headingley, bro?
How many times did you get robbed in Headingley?
I got bitten at a cash point once. Like, I genuinely did get fucking bitten.
What did they want?
Like,
Hannibal Lecter.
It was really weird. Like, I got at a cash point, mate, and it's a bit laddie, but I was going back with a chica. All right, sure. And we were in a taxi, and it was like...
We're doing money to pay her.
Yeah.
From Churchill.
So I was down at Evo. So I was down on par, and I was going back through Burley.
Just quickly, did you jump in a hot tub at Evo?
Oh, did I? I think I was the guy...
Lifeguard.
Hot tub and a £5 bottle of Prosecco. I'm a boss.
Mate, this club was incredible.
That sounds like home.
Stickiest carpets you've ever seen. You know when people are walking... You know, they're like suit diving, the really deep sea diving suits, and they're really heavy, and people walk like that. Everybody in the club was walking like that, because it was literally like, And if you sit it in the day, you'd go, "This is a fucking zoo. Like, this is an absolute zoo." But so we went back. So we were all going back, and I'd got a little chica. Cheers. And I was in the taxi, and I was like, "Fuck, I need to pay for it." So I Not that, for the taxi. So I jumped out of this cash point, right, and there's 3 lads, like, stood at this cash point. One was facing me, one was getting the cash point, and one was on the other side. So I'm, like, waiting in the queue, and I'm, like, really pissed, like, sort of swaying. And this kid was taking ages at the cash point. I'm looking back thinking, like, hopefully they don't drive off, whatever happened. And then I started looking. I just looked at the kid that was next to it, and he was like, "Fuck you looking at?" And I was like, "Oh, mate, I don't want any trouble. Like, I'm just waiting for the cash point." And he like started getting really rowdy, and then his mates like dragged him off, and were like, "Oh, you're an knobhead. Fucking get over here." All of that.
Where's he from?
Yeah, he's Liverpool now.
He's gone from Yorkshire to Liverpool. What?
That was Manny. That. So then they like dragged him off, and then I was like, "All right, mate, like whatever." Like tried to get my cash out, and then his mate was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry about my mate. Like, can I? Yeah, but he was from Manchester. He was lost, and he was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry about my mate. Can I give you a hug?" And I was like, "That's fucking lovely, mate. I'll take a hug. Like, it's alright. Don't worry about it." And then he grabbed me, and he just bit my face, and then like I was like pulling my face away, and like I could feel my cheek.
Come with it. Oh my god.
And I was just in the middle of the road, in the middle of like Burley, just going, "This kid's biting me!" And then the girl got out of the taxi, knocked the shit out of them all, and I just went back to hers and just like was a little sob. No,
small spoon.
I was a little spoon, yeah. No, and it was just, I was just like, what the fuck is this town? So that's my story. I didn't get mugged, but I got bitten.
I got mugged. I got my phone stolen, but I wasn't in Leeds. I was in Liverpool.
Wow.
But. Well, we said this before. I've always had more trouble in Leamington than Liverpool.
Really?
Yeah.
One of my mates got mugged in Manchester. They chased him after a night out, and he got to like a dead end where there was a wall. He jumped over the wall, and then landed the other side down, and literally broke his back and couldn't move. Oh, God. So he was on the floor like just Sparko. And they just went over to him and just took everything and left him there.
So mugged and a broken back.
Yeah. And
worst possible scenario.
He was in hospital for like 2 months. Yeah, he can walk now, but he couldn't walk for
fucking hell.
Yeah.
Literally, I went.
They robbed a man that couldn't walk.
It's low, innit?
Streets are mean, bro.
I was crossing the road. Traffic was all there. No, in Liverpool. Crossing the road, walking on the phone. Guy on a bike swiped it and went the other way. What the fuck? Like,
mate,
did you see that?
Did he carry on the call?
I don't know.
Applaud his technique. To be fair,
it's pretty slick, isn't it?
Mate,
was it soft? Gentle?
No, I was marked up, mate. Marked his territory on my face.
But I was saying, but like also, I'd say on the flip side of that, with kids at school.
Okay, back to education.
No, but like because I had all the same questions going. Oh right, if you can. I was saying to Tom on one of the last podcasts, I went in and did like a school day, and they had to basically go and speak to businesses. It was like speed day and speak to businesses, and they would be in certain channels, is it called, or certain areas of the economy or whatever it was. So it's like HR, finance, this, that,
sectors.
And the sectors, and the kids were like, "Mate, I
don't want to do any of that.
Game, mate. I play games. Like this is really." Yeah. They just weren't connecting. And I'm not saying the people that were doing those jobs like they're just from a different age, the kids. But then I also think on the flip side of that, with teachers, like have known some teachers and stuff like with school, like their kind of responsibility is to get you to a level to function within society. So like. If they can't, like, I do understand, like, they're getting people in and looking at what their needs are and doing it, but if they niched every kind of kid and, like, built everything around it, it is kind of like, right, our job is to kind of, like, get you to a level in school, and then on the flip side of that, like, go and make with your life what you can do with it.
It's a balance, though, isn't it?
No, but I do also think on the flip side of it, there is an opportunity for them to be more open to things that are happening in the world now, as opposed to being so regimented.
So when you left school both at 18 then, did you actually know what you wanted to do? And when you went to university, did you go to uni or not? What did you both study?
My grades were aiming to get onto journalism, and I didn't get the grades. So I did I can't remember what it's called, like a referral onto media with television.
Okay. So
the way that the world works and life works, going into that course set me on my journey for what I do now.
So that makes sense. You're kind of fucking up my point here. Your course was
I did history, yeah.
History, and now you do comedy.
Yeah.
But I suppose history does influence it. But I think I saw a stat the other day that 90% of students that study in a field don't work in that field.
Yeah.
So it's madness. Like if I could go back to being 18, I would have studied something completely different. But you just don't know your arse from your fucking shoulder, do you? Like,
no.
Like, how can you say that for the rest of my life or for the next 10 years, what I'm going to study at uni is going to be what I do? I just...
But at Leeds, did you, like, I think we can all relate, like, the life that you had outside of the lectures and stuff, did you find, like, things that you were, like, now that you still carry with you, like, things that you were dead interested in? Like, did you go to a lot of, like, comedy gigs? Or?
Space, Evo, Baja Beach Club,
women.
Headley Taps.
Yeah. But I'd say, like, so I said about this, I bumbled. Like, I just went, like, a firstborn child, I was like, right, parents, like, this is what everyone's doing at the minute. You should be doing this. You should need to go and do this. That was what you should do. So I just, like, bumbled. And then I ended up doing history because I relatively liked a little bit of it, and I opened the door. But then when I had gone away and, like, had some time by myself and reflected on the roles, I was like, I actually think, like, kids, or when you're going through life, like, there should be a breather. So instead of just bumbling through sixth form into this, then go to this and go to this, and then just like almost like working your way blind, there was a really good, well, you know, wanky TED Talks, but it was like, think of you need to get to a point where you can think of your life backwards and think of yourself right at the end and go, what do I want to have done and what do I want to have completed, and then work back to the job that kind of makes that a reality, as opposed to going, like, looking around in the dark and just going through this door and this door and this door. So there should be, like, an enforced period of travelling, where people get to have a break and go away and go and experience different things and go, oh, that really interests me about that, but I don't like that, but I do really like this, and I think that, well, how can I do this with this job? How do I manifest the fact that I like connecting with people? How do I manifest the fact that I like being creative? Like, what is a job or something that I can do to get me to where to be a vehicle for that, as opposed to going, right, here's a job here, because at the other end now, you just see so many people on survival mode.
I mean, that stat says it all, 90%.
Yeah.
That wouldn't, in theory, be as high if there was a gap.
Yeah, no, because you get loads of people. If there was a gap where people were able to actually just go, do you know what, I'm really interested in people. Like, when I met people, I really want to go and study psychology a little bit more, and go and, like, that really took my interest, as opposed to going, like, I'm going to go and do psychology. But actually, I found out the whole time I was interested in fashion.
Yeah.
And you just, like, well, you could have done something else, whether that then brings an extra added layer to it or whatever it is. But you see so much of that everywhere.
We're trying to, like, reinvent the wheel a little bit, but it makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. It does,
but how do you, unless you give more you know, this is going back to probably a passionate thing about school, unless you give kids, like, more of an opportunity to play, and then through play you learn, don't you? And then unfortunately, like, really too young, we're put, like, 4 or 5 testing, right, this is how you do it, like, get through this level to get to this level to get to this, instead of just going play, and then you'll find out, like, the little bits that are in and around.
Yeah, I think that's true for actual employees as well. Introduce play into, like, a work environment, you get more out of them. Psychologists use that. The one that we've been working with last year, she says how important play is for a team. And like, you could be in a important project, but if you introduce a task with the element of play in, how much more? I think there was one example, as a half piece of paper folded, and the task is to draw a superhero, like, with it, like any creature or whatever, and then you only do half, so you do the top half, then you don't show it, and I'll give you the bottom half, and then you finish the drawing, whatever it is. The purpose of it was just, like, you just get where the other person's, like, mentally coming from a little bit, and then it just opens up a stream of conversation that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
I think
that's just one task.
Also, on the flip side of this, there's also within I don't know, maybe you find this in a creative environment, but there is definitely, like, and then once you get into business, like, all creativity becomes stifled with, like, rules, like, you can't think like this, you can't say this, you can't. The whole point of creativity is you're trying to think of something that hasn't existed before and try and find its way through or add to someone else's. Unfortunately, like, half of the battle is when you have got a mortgage over your head, you're thinking like, I don't want to put my head above the parapet and like get fucking and someone calling me because I've said something wrong. Like stand up wise, like you're starting to see that creep into it as well, where people get cancelled and taken out of it. But actually, all they're trying to do, if their intention inside is to try and make people laugh,
not
like,
controversy.
They're not, because you can tell if you watch a stand up and you watch them joke, you can tell that they're trying to make you laugh on the shock or. Do you know what I mean? They're
waiting for the punchline.
Yeah, they're trying to make you laugh. Whereas if you can see someone's intentions trying to wade through some thought or ideology or something, but they've used the wrong word, they've used the wrong or the incorrect word, as it were, or they've used a bad phrase, like they shouldn't be. Like they're trying to reconcile with their own thoughts, I think. So I think there's another thing on the other side of it where we should be a lot more open as a society to let people imagine and play. Do you find that within your work, to bring it back to your work and stuff? Do you ever say something like, has someone got an idea on this, and people are fearful of saying the idea, or do you? And I'm guessing that's a lot of stuff for businesses, is create an environment where you can have creative people that are comfortable enough and going, right, this is a really off the wall idea, but let's go down here.
Good question. I think there's a real cultural divide between our team. That's
the first one I've done with 7 episodes.
It's the first question that you've asked, but anyway, we'll crack on. Luke's really caught back in it well. I think you're just here to drunk. Is it vodka or rum? But no. So back to the point is around cultural divide. So I feel like the team here and in Manchester speak up, but in India you have to ask them
to speak up.
To give and. It's hard to reinforce a relationship when it's virtual, but you're definitely right, and I think they're getting better at it, but it's taking time. And I think this Indian mindset is very much, and maybe it comes from like the Brits, rule in India, with an iron fist. And it seems to me, especially the females that work in our office in India, are really shy to speak up. Yeah. And I try in meetings, even with clients or internally, to ask their opinion. What do you think? Like, have you got?
So you have to pay more attention to it as well.
Yeah, you do. You have to be really cognizant of it, and it is an issue. And the other issue is just being kind of swallowed up by the minute detail and busyness of like launching projects that you don't get to step away and be creative.
Yeah.
But there's loads of platforms out there like Behance or Dribble where you can look at creative work for tech products and see what like other designers and UI UX people have done, so you can then shape your design work based on their portfolios, which is quite cool. So just having the time to every day have an hour to look at people's creative work, I think is really important, but it's fucking hard when you're trying to plug through loads of different projects.
100%. So I've started a new morning routine on this, and it's from a book called Miracle Morning. A mate gave it to me. I don't know if you've heard of it, but no. This will be difficult for us with kids, but it says like get up early, like 5 a.m. is what it suggests. I did for the first few days, but then realised I could do it at 6, so take an extra hour. And there's 6 things that they say to do. One is like 10 minutes each. One's exercise, journaling, reading. What's the thing that you like say to yourself to like G you up? The
positive affirmations.
Yeah, affirmations, and a couple of other things. And I did it for the first couple of days, and I got into this morning routine where doing it was like it's meant to basically. So after I did all that, so I've been trying to write a book, and I said this out loud on the 6th episode. I want to write a book, and I hadn't written it. I'd seen because it's on Google Drive for 4 years. Hadn't done anything to it. So, and in this time that I had after I'd done this hour, no one was awake. The house was still. I wrote a good chunk of a chapter in it, and I was like, "Fucking hell, wow!" Yeah. Like if that's what I'm gonna get from that morning routine, then I'm doing that. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, keep doing it because when baby comes, I'm gonna have to be up at this time anyway. Just get used to it. I'm not gonna get the creative time when the baby's here, but it at least shows me that can be done. I've got a blog as well, and the blog falls behind. And the
You're
blog,
busy man, Luke. Books, blogs, production company, dad,
I've got some
hero,
advice.
handsome
Slow
man.
it down.
well, that's what the
Relax.
that's what the wife says. But
Get off the cocaine.
the whole point is to the creative, like if I don't, I feel like I'm letting myself
can't
down.
force
We
it,
spoke
though.
about it though.
When you force it, like generally, once you're in once you're in the moment of still, that was the wankiest term I've ever used.
It sounded a bit. Oh god.
Oh god.
Follow it.
Fuck me. But once you're in like calm and your brain actually goes, not worrying about where you're gonna be, what you got to do, like what's coming next, where have you got to go, like how much you got to do, and you just go, oh. Then some thought will pop into your head.
Yeah.
And you go, oh shit, like there's room for this.
Yeah.
And then you can feed off it, and then you're like, right, I'm gonna write, and then the next sentence goes.
And that's the thing. So I read. Don't. Oh, you're gonna pan me for this, but I read Richard Branson's book.
Oh, okay.
And yeah.
Well, you just killed me 2 seconds ago. Like a nobody boy.
And he would always say those moments came to him at the most random times. It could be on a plane, it could be on the tube or whatever. I doubt he gets a fucking tube, to be honest. But he has a little black book that fits into his tight pockets in his trousers, and he just
there is ideas.
Pulls it out, and he says that his best ideas, all the ones where have had the maximum engagement, brand perception, made him money, have all come from writing in those magic moments and going back to it. I think it was one business, I can't remember what it was, but he went back to it a year later because he forgot he wrote it, and then he set it up by going back into his black book, and I think it was his most successful business. So
if you go back through your... But this would be interesting, actually. This could be a world's first. Have you got your phone and your notes?
Notes for this?
No, just
I
notes.
do, and I know what it's
like.
Mine are on my laptop.
Oh, what?
Sorry.
Right, 2 seconds. What are on the notes? Because these are the bits where I wake up in the middle of the night and go, fuck, I'm going to get my notes out.
Oh, as in like ideas and stuff?
Actually, yeah, by the way, no. We're giving them away. There could be a bit...
Yeah, no, my ideas are precious. But no, me and a
film another business's film.
Me and a friend
Make a film for website.
So like we have that accountability.
Just ruined that.
You ruined. I didn't.
I just went
make a video.
Make a video for a website. I'm really.
That's
sorry.
my job.
Can I just say, by the way, I'm roasting him there. Can I literally just explain the last the last week with gigging?
Oh yeah, you've got a story on this.
I just wanna, say, I'm completely open for absolutely being taken the piss out of as well. So I've gig last week. So I had 4 gigs last week, right? And it's the most humbling thing you can ever do stand up, because you're just always just round the corner from the worst thing in the world, the gig. So Wednesday, unbelievable gig, like underground, like speakeasy, distillery. I was on with like some pretty fucking good acts, and I was like, oh mate, this is fucking sick. Like I could do this. I could do it. I like it, mate. I'd be quite happy with my lot. Then I went up to Burnley, and can I just give a shout out?
I saw your story on Burnley.
Can I just give a shout out to the people of Padiham in Burnley? Sorry, they were incredible. Like well up for it. Like fucking.
You should have seen his story though. He was like almost like teeing it up for this is going to be shit.
No.
And his room was like
it was
adjacent to the gig room.
So I was like in this room, and I could see the window that I was staying in, and I was like, usually if you do shit, you just fucking run off. And I was like, if I die here, like
they know where I live.
I was like, I'm gonna fucking die. But the thing is, so I'm Welsh, England, Wales divide. Then I've got a southern accent, so it was like to them it's.
What? Amber went to Leeds at uni. What's going on?
Yeah, no. To them, that's like a divide as well. Southern north. I also used to live in Blackburn, which was quite close to Burnley, but they fucking hate them.
Yeah.
So I was like, look, my anxiety was going through the roof because I was projecting that they already knew. They don't even have a fucking clue who I am. But I was like, look, can you help me out, be a bit more comfortable here, because I'm thinking that you're going to hate me because of this.
Did you say that out loud?
Yeah, I said it out loud. So I was like, there were 70 people. There were old ladies there in the audience or whatever.
Oh, right.
It was like an older crowd. There was a guy who was the hardest looking motherfucker I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was like, right, I've got to pop this
Was it
bubble.
Sean Dyche?
No, it looked like a cross between Sean Dyche and Phil Mitchell, but had been stung by 1,000 bees, tattoos everywhere, and had been out in the sun all day. And Chris, if you're listening, I fucking love you, mate, and please don't come to my house. And And I was like, I've got to address it because otherwise I'll be nervous all night and they'll smell it and then they'll hate me. So I was like, right, can we just get out of the way with, I want everyone in the room, when I shout 1, 2, 3, shout dirty Welsh southern bastard. And then literally, like, the whole room was just up, like, dirty Welsh southern bastard. And I was like, right, get fucking enjoying it way too much. Old woman just like, you dirty Welsh southern bastard.
Glasses.
Self-deprecating humour.
But it was lovely.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, right, we're out of the way with let's meet the good people. So anyway, that gig was like fucking wicked. That was brilliant. And then went down to Oxford for an afternoon gig on this Saturday. Shittest thing I've ever fucking done in my entire life.
What, with Victoria Sponge and stuff?
Oh, mate, it just like people
Afternoon
drinking
gig?
orange juices. I'm making jokes about lads' holidays,
No.
and they're just like, and then Burnley, they're all up for it, right? They're just like fucking salt of the earth people, like going for it. And
Yeah.
then Oxford's a bit more artsy, so it's like, where's the art in this? I'm like, mate, there's no art in me. There is no art.
Sets
in
on
me.
your arms.
Yeah. I'm straight in for it, and I just want to have a good time with everyone, whatever it was. So then we had a gig after the afternoon one in the evening, and I was like, it was in a cafe, and I was like, it was like, because I'd had a shit time in the afternoon, I was already waiting for the evening to be, so I was picking holes in it. I think it went okay, but I'm definitely not going to get booked in Oxford again. However, last night I went to a gig, and I'm still in turmoil about this because I don't know whether this is a sign of weakness or bravery. But I'd like gone to an open mic gig trying to find new material, right? I've turned in the middle of Coventry. It's at a bar that's outside of the venue. So there's a bar and it's the Spire, and then the comedy was outside. So then everybody was just sat on seats, like pub seats, outside facing each other and not even facing the stage.
Right.
And then there's just a microphone in the middle of it. And they were like, this is the gig.
In the middle of the people.
In the middle of the circle, in the middle of the semicircle of tables that are facing each other. So they're not even looking at the comedians.
The event managers fucked that up.
And I was like,
Chris Brown
the
over
guy
here.
that like runs it, lovely fella. I'm not dissing it, by the way.
You'll
Lovely
take
fella.
it again. Yeah.
But I stood there and I'm like, I don't need to do this. Like I'm not going to get anything out. I shake hands every night with the fact that I might die on stage because there's an opportunity that I might live. This is the definition of suicide, because I will only die here and I'm not going to get anything back. And I generally watched the first two people like go up, and there was niente back. No one was interested. People were walking off. He's effectively got a boom box. It's like a God Squad on like Birmingham Broad Street in the middle of the day, like shouting and stuff like that. So anyway, the moment that I decided to get up, at the back on the second row of tables, this homeless dude had like walked past and then seen what was going on and was like, I think there's a comedy gig here. And then he sat down on the table at the back, and I watched and lit read him, and he went, and I thought my life was bad. I walked off.
As you were doing your gig?
As I looked over, I watched him, and he got up and went, ooh, and walked off, and I went, fuck this, I'm off. And then I was just like, look, I've got to go, mate. I've got to go.
So you didn't do it?
No. And
You
then
backed out?
I'm toying with myself here.
Oh, come on.
No. So here's the thing. So
Hey, what do you always say? On the other side of fear,
Yeah, but there was nothing.
greatness.
No.
Did they pay you?
No. It was an open mic. Like, I was like, there's not.
Oh, okay,
What would have happened was I would have done it, and it would have been shit, and I wouldn't have been able to base any material off it, and I turned it in on myself, and I'd have fucking hated myself for like a week. And then I've just been like, this is shit, and I would have thrown it over. Whereas now I've kind of got a story about it, and I'll go back out and do it. But the problem is, I was like, I need to protect myself here, otherwise I'll go off the rails on the other side, because I'll turn it in.
You have standards.
in our terms.
But it's not standards. I didn't want to be arrogant, but
Yeah.
I wanted to say, like, if I do this, like, I will hate myself on the other side, and I'll spin off in another direction, and I'll fucking hate it.
And I think in our terms, Stu, that's like saying no to a client that's not going to pay very much, but you know they're going to be a headache for way longer than their budget lasts.
Oh, yes.
That seems like the comparison that you can make.
And then you're going to get, like, just consistently, and you're going to be doing it, and you're going, like, this is shit, and you're like looking at what they're requesting, and you're going, that's shit. Like, what am I doing? And then you would never have put the work out to anybody else, because you wouldn't want to showcase it. But it's taken up your time. It's taken up your emotional capacity. It's that boundary of going, like, because I've done those things, and I was like, I've done this, and I've done it, and I understand what it feels like, and it doesn't help you actually.
Nah.
But it grounds you to say that's possible. but it gives you enough of a thing to go, right, I want to kick on, as opposed to dipping back into it and going, I fucking hate myself here.
Yeah, it's good to have moments of no.
But then on the flip side of that, I'm looking at Dave Chappelle and thinking like the wizard of everything. He just used to start gigs on like the side of Hollywood Boulevard and just get crowds of people who were just walking past and make them listen to him.
But they were like looking at him, not sat.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Some woman was
Face on.
in the middle of the first act. The woman was like, can I have the burger and chips, please? The burger and chips.
Could you have picked the mic up and walked around though?
I could have, but then I'd just be a screaming child asking for desperate attention. So
That could have been memorable. That could have been memorable.
Sounds like your days at Leeds, Met.
Oh God! I was like, this is what you literally get for a 2-2 from Leeds, Met.
Would you rather have done that, or had you cheek bitten at a cash point?
Cheek bitten at the cash point. No, I don't know. I ran away from both, to be honest, in the end, and cried in the car on my own with no chica, by the way. Can I just add that one?
I want to pull it back to a word you said earlier, and it's manifest, in terms of manifestation. Do you guys believe in it? Have you done it in terms of like where you've pictured Yellow Panther and the type of person you'll be in business and the type of person you'll be at home? Do you like? Is it? I've never really looked at manifestation as a thing, but the last week or two, I've just been hit with a wallop of manifestation, and I'll go into me afterwards. But
not on purpose. I don't set aside manifestation, but I do it. I think when I'm on like a dog walk or.
What's that? Is it like you think what?
So you picturing your future, or if you picture good things will come, or if you work to good things, those good things will come, type of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think manifestation can be seen in different ways. Like obviously you can control those thoughts within reason, within your own head, but also it's controlling your language, how you speak to people, how you again perceived.
Did you point at me and say control your language? By the way,
it's been alright today. It's been alright today, mate.
Sorry,
but it's super important because manifestation, I think, can come out in many different forms, and all you have to do in business and in life, if you impress someone or make an impact on them in a positive way, even if there's not a direct, let's say it's a business contract straight away, they may come back to you a year, 2-3 years later because you made that impact originally. So I think it can come out in different ways. I'm big on how I'm perceived and how I talk, and when I meet people that I do make a positive impression, and that my business or me as a person is a positive thing that can benefit them and help them. And I think the main thing with manifestation as well is listening to that person. So a little tip in terms of sales is we actually don't use a sales CRM platform where you can log shit, but what I do is
HubSpot, by the way. What a CRM platform.
And this is sponsored by HubSpot.
My brother is
I also use it.
My brother's a HubSpot specialist, by the way, so he sells HubSpots to businesses as part of the digital marketing.
Oh, he's a SaaS man.
Tapping up.
But what you can do is, if you don't have one of those platforms, is if you meet someone, even in your phone, in your notes, or on your email, your Outlook, or your laptop, write their name. If they have kids, list them down.
Oh, yeah.
What do they do? What was the conversation? And just try and get a few pointers. Do they support a certain football team? Try and broker a relationship. So if you ever bump into that person, or there's a meeting set up with that person later, you've got it logged and you can go back. And I think when you have that warmth, and if you remember someone's name, their kids, the football team they support, horse racing event they went to, or whatever, it helps. It really does.
Have you ever, sorry to interrupt, but on that, when you're like, building the rapport, and you're like, right, we're going to get to know each other, and you'd be like, so, footy team do you support, mate? And they're like,
I don't like football.
And you're like,
I'm not sure this relationship could go any further.
And I'm like, oh, what are you into? Like, and they'll be like, oh, I'm really into the
vapes.
They'll be like, I'm really into the motorcycle racing, and I'm like, in my head, I'm going like, oh,
how do I pull this back?
Yeah, I'm like, Valentino Rossi, mate, he's absolutely smashing it at the minute, and is he still going?
That's the skill of the salesman, though. You got to find that chameleon, like. Did they say something that I could know a little bit about? Because if they have, then that's what I'm going for.
Or when they're like, they are. So you're asking them like open questions, and they give closed answers to open questions. So you'd be like,
Can't work
so
with that.
What are you into? And they're like, cars. Okay. Oh, mate, I absolutely love cars. What type of cars are you into?
The film.
4 wheels.
yeah. Could be that as well.
Pixar. Yeah.
And it's so hard, but it's so true. Like, just generally connecting with people and being able to, like...
Yeah, I think manifestation can also be a bit of a negative as well, because things you can't control are, fucking pandemic, inflation,
tell me.
like you can't, interest rate hikes.
Yeah.
Like, your business may be losing a client that was your biggest retainer, but they went under and you couldn't replace them. And you set this like 2-year, 5-year plan and you never reach it. And then suddenly manifestation then can manifest in something negative.
Yeah.
I think it's just manifesting the right things that are realistic, but not manifesting things that are material.
Yeah, out of your control, because it's never going to work. But the reason I asked that question is because the last week or two, I don't know, just felt like, obviously quitting my job and stuff like that, it's a big jump. But
Well done, by the way.
Thank you.
Seriously, pat on the back. Honestly, it's a big moment.
It is, and it could go either way. But for a period over 2 weeks, I was kind of doing so. For me, it's as much about lifestyle as it is for money that's going to be in my pocket at the end of the day. Lifestyle. But
sipping pina coladas in the background.
Yeah. Going to Vegas.
Mate, if that's how I want to live, that's how I'm going to live. But I was doing something like mundane, like I was going for a walk in the middle of the day where like I'd normally be working, thinking, fucking hell, like not getting too ahead of myself, but it's just like I wouldn't have been able to do this any other time, and things are happening okay. Like, my son's already said, I like the way that you're not on calls all the time, and like just more available at home. All these things. I was like,
that's amazing. And
then it was like, well, that's because I've like I was telling you that story about the boy, the 8-year-old boy. His parents then sat me down after the second session and said, we've got a gas and oil company overseas. We're looking at doing some training videos. Can we pick your brain? And I was like, if I didn't say yes to that original situation, which has no real money involved in it properly, I wouldn't have had that conversation. I was like, all these things that you try and keep yourself open for have their way of just like, and I do try and do the things that you say, like be a good person and like have warm conversations with people and leave them with a lasting and listen, like, first and foremost, and leave them with a lasting memory.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's something that I've got a bit of a bugbear about and chip on my shoulder at the moment. Do you both think at the moment, and I don't know if it's COVID or it's just the way that society's going, people don't listen, and you have so many conversations now where people are waiting for you to finish because they want to say something completely different, and it's really
There's two types of listening. And your point is exactly right. There's a listen to like answer, a listen to give your point, or there's a listen to listen. That's the two types of listen, and I agree.
I just think it's gone in society, and me and my Mrs. Frankie, we've both had this where I genuinely feel like a lot of people that I meet these days just do not care about me or want to care, and that's fine. I don't have an expectation, but I just feel like a few years ago people listened and were more interested in your story and you were interested in theirs, and there was just more dialogue. I don't know if it's digital and social, COVID, anxiety. I don't know. I can't pinpoint.
I don't think it's COVID. I don't think it's COVID because I think like social media, for example, it's you telling everyone, and then if people reply, they reply. But you're always on the front foot of having to tell people, here's my story, here's what I'm doing, or I'm tagging you, you're in a photo. But like, it's always you, or not you, but like a person putting it out there.
But isn't the art of learning about your own experiences, but 50% about learning from other people's experiences? So therefore, if you close yourself off, you're fucked. You don't learn, do you?
We say this, and this is why it's great having guests, because me and Elliot have our individual opinions, but then when there's a guest on, we try and be quiet, because then we let the person's experiences dictate what we want to say.
Well,
Well, Elliot's not really shown that this evening, but you know, Luke's been fine, but Elliot, seriously, mate.
when you were like, I seriously hate when people interject, I was like, I've definitely interrupted 7 times.
No, I've actually not. It's 11. I've got autism. Joking.
I was, but if you take that into like, we're gonna lose a load of followers now, so all 7. But if you think about like Jordan Peterson, for instance, like he's the most misinterpreted like people just don't. If you actually sit there and listen to what the dude's saying, he's like, I want to make people better people, no matter what you are or who you are or where you come from or anything. I don't have anything. But he's been like pigeonholed to the point that people aren't even listening to what he's saying. But then this is like the social dilemma with, have you seen that on Netflix, where they're just, people are seeing like one version of this and one version of that, so then nothing communicates. And to put it into one that I see a lot, so there's a guy that I gig with, Jeff Innocent, so he's like unbelievable, like incredible at comedy, but he is a tall, bold 65-year-old East End Londoner with earrings and like looks fucking naughty.
Tough.
And his whole act is the fact that he looks like a racist. but he's got a black wife from Nigeria.
I've seen him a couple of times. I've actually seen him live.
He's brilliant.
Okay.
I was gigging with him on Wednesday at that thing.
He's awesome.
He's incredible, and he's got a gay son, and it's everything. And the juxtaposition of that piece of art is that everything tells me that you should not be saying what you're saying in the loving, kind, caring manner that you're actually saying it. And like you say, like there's uncomfortable bits that he goes towards, but you're like, this is art because like you're
truly listening.
Yeah, but yeah, because you listen to him. Whereas he was saying like in some gigs, people are just like, no, off to the inferno you go because you look like this and you're talking about this scenario. But actually, if you listen to the art of what he's saying, like it's insane what he's saying.
And to flip that in a selfish manner, isn't it brilliant when you sit down with someone that generally isn't in your archetype of people that you normally converse with
100%.
And you learn from them and they open your eyes to something new, like that moment there, it settles your anxiety, you learn, you feel better about yourself. So it's like people don't listen, but then if you do listen, it does benefit you as well, selfishly. So just fucking do it. Like if there's someone sat by themselves in a bar for an hour and a half and you're with your friends and they look lonely,
me,
go just don't get bitten on the cheek. But go speak to them. Go, like I just feel like something's been lost in society at the moment. I grew up in Lincolnshire in a small market town called Sleaford, and I started heavily drinking at 14, 15. I used to play cricket and football to a decent level, and all the older lads would take me out when I was 14, 15. Yeah. My dad was okay with that because he knew them and he knew that I'd look after me. But that meant that I was speaking to the alcoholic over there, the racist there, the lonely woman that's been divorced 4 times there. And I think it basically opened me up to like conversing with people and being interested. And I used to love it. And it wisened me up and made me street smart. Yeah. But I always used to love stories and used to acknowledge them. But selfishly, it made me feel better. And it opened my eyes and world up as well. Something's lost at the moment in society, especially here in the UK. And I think it needs to change quickly because I think we're going down a really negative path of it.
I don't disagree with anything that you've said, and I think Elliot's actually said this, to be fair, is like when we're talking to or we're having conversations with people that don't normally sit in our kind of like, they're not a friendship group, they've come from a different, quite lucky really with the podcast, like you talk to people that you've asked on to be on but you have no idea of their background, so you know they're going to bring something different in terms of content. But we're running for quite a long time at the moment actually, and I knew this was going to happen because I knew it would be like the long form content, a long conversation. Even if I arranged to go for a drink with you, it would be like there'd be like an element of I don't want to share too much. Yeah. For some reason, when there's a microphone involved with me and Elliot, we've gone into depths that we'd never go in when we're having a drink together. I don't know why, but like this long conversation is what is missing. It's talking about something that you had no intention of talking about. And I take the piss because I write an agenda to take the piss out of the corporate world, but that's just to keep on topic. But I didn't know we were going to go into autism or go into like the depths of the background that you had in India. But I think that's fascinating. I know more about things after this conversation.
But the interesting thing is, so the last time I was in India is 2 years ago. And probably maybe one person's asked me about it. So here at Mill Street, it's been a great place to work, and during lockdown it was awesome because it was still open, because it was a work environment. It was there's only ever 10 or 15 people in the whole building, so you were socially distanced. But the one thing I found a little bit strange at Mill Street, and maybe also I have to be a bit more open, but people don't really understand your story because they don't really come up to you. And I don't know if it's, have I put a barrier up, or people just aren't interested, or it's a mixture of both. But it's not just Mill Street. I think it's prevalent everywhere. Like my missus is an ex-actor and she's a writer. And the other day she went to the pub in town and she ended up sitting down next to this 80-year-old man who was sat by himself. And he's like a legendary theatre director that's worked with like Peter O'Toole and just legends of like the acting world. And they sat down for nearly 3 hours and had a couple of coffees and a chat. And now they're connected and they speak on WhatsApp and they've met like a couple of times since. And how amazing is that? He's a guy that's widowed, doesn't work anymore. I think he does a little bit of consultancy with some theatres around here. But he was just sat by himself in a pub because he lives around the corner. But yet, Frankie met someone that has directed the biggest and best plays in the world. Mm-hmm. How beautiful is that?
Makes me a little bit emotional, to be fair.
Where's it gone, though?
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of it.
I mean, that's entire fucking series in itself. I think it's being vulnerable. We're not taught to like be kind of vulnerable. If you go up to someone in a bar and say hello, like most of the time there's this fear of judgment and stuff like that. Or
rejection.
If I go, I'm sure you had it over in India when you were doing it. But when I was away, like I'd look back at the little island that I was from, the UK, and I'd be like, why the fuck are you just tearing yourselves apart about every single thing over there? Like, we've got fucking incredible lives. Like, we live at literally from studying history, like, one of the best times. It's not perfect, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it isn't the worst place in the world. Like, we're so incredibly lucky. Oh, and once you start with that small, and I'm not saying
gratitude,
like, just the small bit of going, I'm actually really thankful that at least I've been born at this point. Like I talk about this. So I had a bad hip growing up, and with foot it had operations on it, and I grew up for ages when I was through my teens, like really bitter and just being like,
bad knee.
I had the Osgood Slatters as well. That fucking killed me off that. But
that stopped me playing for Arsenal.
Wanker. But I grew up for ages, literally just like, oh no, that was my shot at life, like, and it didn't work out, and like, this is this and this is that, and I was like, oh, it's just fucking shit that I got this, and I wear contact, and I grew up like just really, and then I went away, and looked at people sat at the side of the road on a fucking skateboard, and they had nothing, and I was like, I've done pretty well over there to be able to get operations, to live in a country where they look after me, and then on the other side of that, I was going, actually, also within the country that I live in, I'm lucky, but the time within the country that I live in, because had I been a kid that had been walking around in a fucking
Victorian ages,
I would never have had that, and I'd have been a kid that would be limping walking down the street.
But this comes back to, I think, COVID a little bit. People haven't been able to travel, and they haven't had their eyes open to the world in terms of like what actually is.
How bad is it for them?
Yeah,
the mixed experience of life.
And I totally agree with this, because I had a rant at Frankie a while ago about how great this country is and how sick and tired I am of people in the media. You only have to go on The Guardian, bloody Daily Mail, BBC, and 90% of the comments are just negative about how shit the government is, the NHS. You need to go to other countries. Yes, we're not probably in the top 5 or 6, but we're still generally very lucky, and people need to be grateful for what we've got. If you work hard in this country, you can make good friends, have a good life, you can own a home, and you can set a business up or do well in your career. And if you are ill, you will be looked after. You can get somewhere you need without having a car, within reason. Not everywhere, but open your fucking eyes up. Go to rural India and see it for yourself. Because perception and being grateful really will make you humble, but you can only see that if you travel. So I completely agree, man. So you really summed it up well.
One of the things in a podcast that I listened to, and it was about the happiness expert, Mo Gorda, and I tell everyone about this podcast. He said your happiness will increase if you lower the expectations of other people or other things. And like, I think I had to pull over. I was like, when he said it like so simply, I was like, fuck me, he's just summarised how to keep yourself at an even keel of happiness. And I was thinking about it, I was like, because I feel like I can be quite positive, and it's because I don't really have any expectations of other people. I don't expect the most difficult people in my life to be great, because what's the point? I'll be let down eventually, and I'll get on with that. But then I thought about the people who I might think are a little bit more unhappier in their life, and I think, yeah, they've just got the wrong expectations of the world.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain people will go out and think, oh, I had this fucking idiot in the car park at whatever shop it was, wouldn't let me out, parked like a moron. I'm like, your expectations of that person were way higher than what they should have been, because you could have done so many things to be out of that situation, or just looking at it. That's just one example, but I just felt like that was brilliant. That was a brilliant way of summing up keeping yourself.
I have that, but I was definitely that, and I now try and reconcile with my own expectations of what the world is, and try and bring myself level to not be that person that's like, why is this is fucking shit. I still have high expectations, and whether I grew up in a Peter Pan fantasy where my parents didn't argue and everything was golden. And then actually, because almost like we were saying, decompressing and getting back to an idea of actually, if we start at base level as opposed to set your expectations so high, you can enjoy the journey then, because everywhere on the stop is something new and something to experience and something that's different. Whereas if it's not the golden hill, how many times have you been on holiday and you've got this idea that the holiday is going to be fucking brilliant? You've got you've literally been I've bought the hotel, it's perfect. You get in the room, and you go, it's not quite as good as the picture.
Or a night out, the night out expectations.
Yeah. And
always,
it's got to be brilliant.
Always fuck up.
Yeah. Whereas actually,
9 times out of 10, it's
it's
the spontaneous ones, isn't it? That win.
It's when you go. When you go into bamboo, if you go into a big club and you're we're going here. It's itinerarized, dress up, it's going to be this, and you get in there and you're just
so where's the fun?
Fucking shit.
You would have had more fun in a social club.
Yes.
In a small town.
Get me with a sticky
in a t-shirt and shorts.
And get me pints being thrown down by net by some knobhead that I call my friend.
Get bitten on the cheek.
And see where it goes to, and I might have some stories. But it is 100% that.
And again, it's a cliche, but time is your biggest commodity. So therefore, why waste your time on all these what you call micro stresses? The person that nicks your parking spot at the supermarket, or nicks the last piece of steak that you're trying to buy and all that shit. Just let it fucking go. And use your time positively, because it will benefit you in the end. Because positive thoughts breed, I think, positive results. And again, I sound like
that's manifestation.
Neil Warnock.
Neil Warnock.
That is what a manager, by the way. I'm a Cardiff fan. So.
Legend.
But that is so true. What I found with that, and I actually taught myself this, was when people do shit like that, instead of using a real bad turn towards them, being you fucking idiot, call them a little legend. Be someone pulls in front of you, and be what are you doing, you little legend? And then it just completely
changes. Yeah, I bet it does.
And then you're what a fucking idiot that dude is. Whatever's going on in his life, it's meant that he really needs to have that spot over you, because the micro stress is so pent up. He needs to have that small win.
Because his kids shit himself in the car. He needs to get nappies from Tesco.
Exactly. You don't know what other people's things are, what they're doing, what they're going through. So your expectation of them is based on what you're in right now, not what they're in. And I think related to the happiness thing, there was forgive me, I don't know it word for word, but there was a task that came up. It's what are the 3 most important things for you today, that you want to achieve today? And then a person would list them, and in theory it would be to put my kid to bed, to complete my to-do list, and exercise. So that was the most 3 important things of the present. And then they'd do that, and then they'd say, so when you're on your deathbed, what are the 3 most important things that you've done? And it was flipped in a way where you're the to-do list would be nowhere near that.
Yeah.
Putting your kid to bed probably would be, or having that time with your kid. An exercise might be. But it was an exercise to make you think what you think is important today isn't. Or you might think when you're on your deathbed, have I been nice to every person that I've had time with or experienced on a day-to-day basis? Yeah. And it was a proper overwhelming task. It was shit, am I on the way to doing what I hope to be doing when I look back on my life? Yeah. Or are you just doing the list? That's every day.
And it opens up another question here about regrets. I'd love just to chat for 10 minutes about life's regrets. I'm really torn with this, and I don't think I've even made my mind up yet in terms of, do you live your life with regrets, or do you actually just let it go? Like, there's many things that I regret, but for your own self-esteem and your own anxiety and stuff, like, do you have to let it go, or do you learn from it? I'm just interested, like, what do you boys think?
I'm going to go first because I think that's a really good question. I definitely try and live that life where you think you don't have regrets. Don't have regrets, but I do. I know I do. I at least have one big regret, and then there are like mini regrets in that. But
what was it? Sorry, but what's that big regret?
Starting the podcast with me.
Is it a bit too?
It's deep, but I don't mind going deep. That's what it's for. It's so when Caelan was born, he lived in Liverpool for the first 6 months of his life, and I just wasn't. Sorry, and when she was pregnant, I was in Leamington, she was in Liverpool, and it just was not a very nice. I was 21 years old, very immature as a bloke as well. You think that life is in a different way. So for that period, that's my regret. I wasn't better. But then I kind of give myself a little bit of slack. It's like, you were 21, you didn't know what better was, or you weren't expected to go into that at that time. So that's my regret, but I'm okay with that because I know there's reasons why I did that, and although it weren't right, it happened. But now so after that 6 months, they moved to Leamington, and I feel like I've been a seriously good dad for the whole duration, almost like in different ways. I was a single dad for a lot of those years, and now I've got another baby on the way. It's taught me how well I want to be at this period that I wasn't very good at. So it's like trying to correct your wrongs. And there's other like mini regrets that you have, like on nights out and stuff like that, and but they still kind of have a way of teaching you what you believe is right or wrong, or what you think the type of person you are, and maybe you're not because you did that. And I don't know, there's like deeper ways of thinking about it, but that's the only regret I think I have, because I try and live like I don't have regrets, and everything has a reason, or everything has a knock-on effect to the point that I'm at now. But in saying that, so I could have looked at having a kid at 21 that wasn't planned in a really negative way, but because it happened when it happened, I was into video production and writing and stuff like that. I had like a real then flip side desire to say, I don't want to be a weekend dad. I don't want to be someone that lets dreams go because they've had a kid. Because I remember hearing that a lot, like, oh, you can never do what you want to do once you have kids. Like, you have to get a job and earn this amount of money to look after them. So I always had that like flip side of, no, I need to follow my dream, which was to set up a video production company and create kind of productions. And I did that when he was 2, so I set it up, and then from there, that's why I've had this 8-year journey. I could never have done it before because he was 4, he was 5, he was at school, and you need X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
But he's been like the flame, although at the start it was a small flame, and then the flames got bigger, burning underneath me to always try and not be someone that says, I've just got this job just because I'm looking after the family, I'm just supporting the family. To be the opposite, because it could have been that way very easily. Sorry, that's deep.
So can you imagine if when he gets to 18 and he looks at his dad and he's a bit bitter and twisted because he's doing a job he hates, he's demoralised, feeling low, missed an opportunity in his life for a big period of time. Actually, I think your boy, what's his name?
Caelan
will look at you, I think, with respect, and it will hopefully like fuel the fire to him to actually do what he wants to do, because too many people work too hard in stuff they don't like doing. And again, time is biggest commodity. Do something you love, throw everything into it. If you generally love it, you'll do well.
Yeah, exactly. And he is super, super smart. He's very bright. So already I think he's picking up on like that, like from his point of view, Dad, you're doing what you want to do.
Yeah, you're happy. You're coming home and you're positive, and you're
in your own clothes.
About work in a positive mindset.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
And I'm generally 3 or 4 days out of the week picking him up from school and dropping him off from school. So his mindset is he's always there, or like we might go kick a ball at a time of day where, but then he gets used to it. So then his expectancy is like, isn't every dad like this, or isn't every parent like this? But I'd rather him have it that way than me being a shirt and tie, not back till 6 o'clock, stressed, trying to grab a drink as soon as I get in the door, not wanting to do bedtime.
So, Elliot, same question to you.
You only know what you know at a certain time. So I'd always say, like, with that, like when you were saying about regret or the way that you behave, you were only given at that time to cope. You only had the tools that you had ever known that you had. So, and until you then start like wading through it, then you can create better tools to be able to look back at it. But you, like, with stuff like that, you can't beat yourself up at the stuff that you didn't know because you didn't know, and you've just waded into it, like almost like working up. I think for me, like, I don't regret anything that I've like done. Like I've done like quite a bit, and I've tried to grasp everything. I think mine's like time, like just time. Like I don't regret it, but I just think, why have you just wasted that time?
Do you mean time in terms of what, like hangovers or nights out?
No, like bits of that. Like obviously, party a bit too much. Like I will hold my hands up and say that I do that.
Leeds Met.
Yeah. Like, once you go to a working class uni, you know, you're fucking strapped in for life, bro. And
that's a part of the Desmond T2.
4 years. What are you saying? And I think it's like time, like worrying at stuff, like just I'm just like, why do you spend so much time worrying? Like I looked, there was a picture, and I found my old laptop and went through some of the pictures. Like obviously can't share all of them, but I remember looking back at picture of me, and I was alright, and I was like, kid, like you're alright. Like I knew at that point that I felt like shit about myself. Or I didn't like myself, or I was worrying, and I was like, I've got to uphold this, I've got to try and do this, I've got to try and be like this. And then now I'm looking at him 6 years later and going, I'd give anything to be back at that dude's thing, rattle him, and literally go,
these are the best moments.
Dude, like, these are fucking incredible moments in your life, and like, embrace them, and like, don't, you know. And I think, looking back, like, I've got some. But you were saying earlier about like when you go and hang around with the person that is the guy that's the 90-year-old dude that's this, and it's like, whoa, this is completely blowing my image of my own like little bits. Like I used to go and hang around with my grandma, but we live away from our grandparents, and I would sit and I'd love spending time with her. But most of all, when I was on this journey and I was like, I'm not living the life that I want to live, but I want to try and find something else. And I'd look at her and I'd be like, I'm going to get old too, and if I don't do something, this is what's coming for all of us. And I loved her, and she was like funny as fuck. She gave me some material and stuff, but I was like, that's going to happen to me, and unless I go and do something in between here and then, if I just do something that I don't care about, what have I got? And
they always say, the older generation, are you happy? Are you doing what you want to do?
No, yeah, because
but it's black and white.
Yeah,
to
but
them.
they've gone through the time, and they've probably gone through it, and actually go.
So they've got their own regrets, and they're trying to make you not have those same regrets.
Everyone's trying to pass on their everyone's actually. If you're listening to people are genuinely trying to say, like, I have got to this stage, and here is what I would suggest. You have to shift out, because some of them are fucking awful. Some people are like, go and live in Vegas, fuck your money up, or whatever it is. Don't listen
Not
to that.
solid advice.
But then most people
I've been to Vegas 4 times, by the way. So
unbelievable.
That's shit advice.
MGM. Rolling around in MGM at fucking 5 a.m. in the morning, you see some grisly creatures, I will tell you that.
Yeah.
Mainly myself.
My mate was naked at Treasure Island in a waterfall at 6 a.m. We walked back over the drawbridge bit to go to our room, and he's there at 6 a.m. just showering himself in the water. Yeah,
Links Africa.
Naked. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And security never picked him up.
No, it's weird. If we are talking about regrets, Vegas is definitely the place where you find a lot of them. But yeah, no, it's like time, and like my uncle recently passed away with like motor neurone and stuff like that.
Sorry, mate.
No, it's, but like,
condolences.
I've always said about stuff like, we always like to, how do you word it? Like, we're guaranteed that this is where it gets really deep. We're guaranteed to go. something is out there, all of us. Some people have just been given what is going to take them, and the rest of us, we don't know yet. We have no clue. So in between that time, whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you love, try and find a way of doing more of it, because something out there is going to come for you. And I think that on the deathbed of everybody, wherever it is and whatever they do, they will look back and go, do you know what? Just fill your time with things that you enjoy doing.
Yeah. So at the moment.
So what's yours?
So I was about. Well, I get my regrets, or I was
If you have any, or you can go to your point first and come back to it.
No. It's a bit of an emotional point. So my partner Frankie, her dad's got dementia, and I met her 6 years ago, and I could tell when I first met him, maybe there was something there, but he was quite cognitive and charming and could hold conversations and concentrate. And obviously the last few years with COVID, if you've got dementia and you're not doing social situations enough and you're not exploring new things, it can speed it up, and it has sped it up. And he's a guy locally that's really known. So Tom that was on your podcast, he conveyanced his house. He was one of the biggest conveyancers in Leamington. Any big house that's worth a decent amount of money. Sorry, Tom.
Good cheat.
He did it, and he worked for Wright Hassel, and had a big team underneath him, and big golfer, played football around here as well. He's worked his whole life, and they own numerous properties, and I think he's done really well for himself. And it's Frankie's mum at the moment. We're going through this predicament where Frankie's mum helps look after our little kid 3 times a week, but she's getting to the point where she has to care for him, care for our child, and sometimes has our beagle, who's a fucking nightmare. Yeah. Bless her. But she won't spend the money to get the help that she could actually get. So an example of this is there's a company in Warwick that help with dementia care, and it's like flexi care. They make it bespoke to your needs. So it's not a case of someone being whisked away to a care home or someone living with you. It's they set the care based on your parameters and your circumstances. But anyway, so they've worked really hard, like all these bullshit meetings, working 14 days in a row, just being stressed for your whole life. And they're sat on like a good amount of money to look after him and to help. Because the thing is with care, it's not about helping the person that needs the care, it's also helping the carer.
Yeah.
The background, yeah.
And what Frankie and I are kind of pulling our hair out with is we've offered solutions and stuff, and she's not taking it. And I just don't want that regret where I'm going to work my arse off for hopefully the next 20 years, that money I make, I want it to be spent to look after me, but also my family. And
what is it? As in, forgive me the way that I've interpreted that, as in the lady doesn't want to spend the money that's been accumulated for that care. She wants to keep that separately, and that's
a little bit. Yeah,
this can be edited out, by the way. If
no, it's fine. It's just like she's been given like scenarios and situations, and the care's there if she wants it, but she's not taking it. And I'm struggling to get my head around that, because this is a guy that's very proud and has done well in his life, and probably needs some support now. And she definitely needs support, because it's starting to really, you can see it's like a weight on her shoulders. Like she just looks more and more tired, and she's struggling. Let's spend that money that you've worked your whole life.
It makes me ask.
It's like being able to ask for help. Like I think
taking the pride aside.
There's so many how many that I do it. I find myself doing it loads. I don't just go, I need help. Like can someone help me here? Like I need. Well, I'm not saying in like massive scenarios and like really big, but I don't want to burden people. I don't want to. I find it like hard to ask for help, even in small mundane things, but also big things as well. And that's, again, I relate that back to the conversation we had earlier about like being vulnerable and not knowing the outcome. Like you have to take a chance in it and actually weigh through something that you can't control, because you don't know where it's going to go. Yeah. And the more people embrace that, like that Brené Brown does, like the courage to vulnerability, the more you embrace the ability to be vulnerable and need help and just say, look, I need, that sort of thing. I think that we'll all progressively get better, and scenarios around us will actually get better, because then going full circle with stuff, the human actual heart is pretty decent, and everybody's got the potential to to look after one another, and they will help you.
So, well, a couple of points before I ask you. The question I've got is, makes me think like, what are we working for? What are we trying to earn money for? If at the end of the day you can't pay that money to help yourself when you're ill,
exactly.
Like, what is the point? Like, why am I trying to earn money to sit on in future if I'm not paying for it to actually better my health? It's a rhetorical question. There is no answer for that.
No, but
it depends on
because
individuals.
we all do, you all spin around going, oh, what am I actually doing all of this for? And I'd say it goes back to the time thing. Like, I was always trying to figure out what was the meaning. Like, what is the meaning behind all of this? And like, we all want a meaning or a thing, but it's actually like once you actually get comfortable with the fact that all of this is made up. Like, it's
we're living in the Matrix.
All of this is relatively made
Truman
up.
Show.
And it's like quite not being nihilistic, but like this is all made up, and like you just have a certain amount of time here to do what you need to go and do and have fun and be like respectable, be cool to people, go and get as many experiences and like have like a purpose and just die with that purpose. Like, just go with it. Find what you love and let it kill you.
Yeah, and then this is like just a statement.
Apart from drugs, that wasn't a great metaphor for any addicts out there, but
but you pulled it back in
every time. Yeah,
Ketaloco, space.
Yeah,
that's just how you felt.
Glow sticks and Oceana is what I love, and it will kill me.
The statement from that. Oh, I've completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah, it's Liz, Matt, boy, we're teaming up, mate.
It's probably that fifth rum and coke.
Gone. Yeah, it could be actually. What's your regret in that situation though? Because that was more of a situation, but not your regret.
No, it's just something that I'm taking with me, and I don't want that to happen to me. And hopefully, the mindset changes and there's a solution there. But I've got loads of regrets. Yeah, I think. They eat you away a little bit. I think as long as you learn from them and try and move on, I think time will, it's cliche again, but time will heal.
Yeah.
But,
if you learn from it, is it a regret?
No, it's lesson.
Yeah.
They're not like, if there's loads
no,
of stuff.
I disagree with that. I really do.
Do
It's still a regret. It's a regret and a lesson. It's both. Like, if you've really upset someone or broken someone's heart and it is genuinely your fault, you have to regret that. I don't go by the notion that, I was young and it was flippant and I was learning and I shagged a bird from Evo behind your back.
Guilty.
Yeah. I just don't go by that. I think you do. The majority of people do have regrets, and it does eat. I like to think it does eat it away. I think if it eats away at you, it shows that you do have remorse and you care. And as long as you learn from that and don't keep repeating the same mistake, then that's a good thing.
That's fair.
But what you've done
is
not a good thing, and you need to hold your hands up and be accountable for that. And I've made fucking many mistakes. This podcast go on for 10 hours. It will be Schindler's List, part 3.
I think we probably all could, but we're trying to look at it differently.
No. Can I tell one regret that eats me up?
Go on.
Right, this is actually
Coventry stand up.
No,
shirking it.
Honestly, definitely. Right, generally, and I'm not proud of it. All right, and I'm sorry. This was a very, very valid point, but like I've just realised one absolute stupid story that I had, which was like one of the biggest regrets. So I used to work in a restaurant. And then people used to come up to the till to order, right? And I used to send, when they used to order stuff, I used to write things on the ticket to make the chefs laugh, like about what the person would be. So like the waiter would go in and be like, it would be like table 66, and I'd write something about the person that was at the till, and it would be like woman with a big GG booth on, and like so he'd have to walk over to the table and be like, who's got the salmon? But in the back of his head, he's like looking for the woman. Yeah. But one day I messed up and I didn't write it in the notes underneath the table. I actually eradicated the table name, and on the other side of the till, like what I was typing was coming up, like to the woman who was ordering. And in the middle of lockdown. Like, when you get those moments of regrets, I like woke up in the middle and and I was like, oh my God. And they were like, my girlfriend was like, what are you on about? And I was like, right, so I was working in this, and I was there, and I typed, and I'm really sorry, but I'd been part, and if she, I don't know if she's still alive, but I was typing like, what, I was typing, woman with bird's nest hair really ugly. But she was like,
Oh.
I know, and I was only 17.
Mate, that's terrible.
No, I know, and I'm so sorry that I've made that woman. And she was looking at me typing it, and I'm thinking it's really funny to the chefs in, and I'm typing it, and again, I feel like regret-wise, I've made that woman who's come out for a nice, lovely Sunday roast go away and realise she's got a bird's nest on her head and she's really ugly. And that's one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest regrets I have.
She's like a presenter. Like, this is what you need to
I'm so
say.
sorry. I'm never gonna
Woman
get a
with
job.
birds.
I'm never gonna get a job on the BBC, man.
Elliot, that's
No, I know.
and you
What lesson
seem
did
like
you
you
learn?
regret that.
I
If you don't, you
absolutely
should.
hate the thought. And obviously there's those wider bits about relationships that I completely fucked up and all of those stuff. But that moment sticks with me because I have genuinely that woman didn't deserve it. She didn't ask for it. She never.
She got it.
But she fucking
She
got it.
knew it. She had a bird's nest.
She got it, and straight away the waiter knew exactly who she was. So was I a true speaker or was I actually a twat?
Efficient.
No.
True honesty, efficient.
Oh,
What's
but
it?
I
Because
hate that.
we could go on for literally, and this probably will go on after this podcast, but
We're going to town, aren't we? for
we're
a
going
few
to
days?
town. We're going to town ass. Town ass.
Can I just say, caveat this? I've really enjoyed.
Oh
meeting
mate, we've still
you,
got one
having
more
the chats.
question.
Oh, sorry.
He could teach you a thing or two.
there we
Can
go.
we?
Sure. Yeah.
No pressure. This podcast, though, has been more about Elliot tonight. So Elliot is the guest. So
Yeah.
however you structure it on Spotify, just put
Luke and
season
Stu
2
with
episode
Elliot.
1. Yeah. Luke and Stu, the hosts, with
Sorry,
Elliot.
sorry.
What's your take on following a passion?
Oh, bloody hell. Do you know what? I have to be honest. I like what I do, but it's not. I don't love what I do, so I'm actually not following a passion at the moment. So my take is, I can't preach what I'm not practicing. So, my aim is with my business, to summarise, and I manifest this every day. Whilst I drink my coffee, but the aim of our business is within 5 years we want to sell.
Oh yeah,
And
you said this.
the reason why we want to sell is it's not to be rich, but it's to be hopefully comfortable for the rest of my life. And with the roadmap that we've got, Gunjan and I, hopefully we can achieve that in 5 years, and I'll be 40, and hopefully we achieve it. And then that means, and I know Nigel here has gone through a similar thing where he's worked his arse off and set up a business and sold it, and he's created something that is a passion project where he's generally making an impact in the community and doing some good. I hope that the money that I can get out of it gives my family security, but also gives me the opportunity to work on projects that I genuinely care about, where I can make an impact in lots of different things. And I'm passionate about numerous things like sport and cricket and food and lots of other things, but I just feel like what I'm doing at the moment, it isn't a passion project. It's a project that I like, and I think we're doing a good job, but it's to meet a goal, which is then to do better things. And I think it's like a bit, if you look at it like a tree in a way, that I'm at the branch of the tree at the bottom, the bottom of the tree, the stump. Oh shit, analogy, isn't it?
The roots.
Yeah, and I'm growing up it to
Yeah.
eventually then get to where the branches branch out, and then I can impact lots of other people in lots of other different ways. And what I'm doing at the moment is a way to get to that goal. And I do want my child at the moment, and hopefully children, to look at me, and I come back from work, like what you said, I'm passionate, I'm positive, not negative, not bitter, rested, but I know that I'm impacting people in the right way, and hopefully I can get there. So hopefully that kind of answers the question loosely. But
Wow.
yeah.
Good luck on that journey.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because not every business has to be a passion. I think is the thing there. There's parts of I was going to ask you this earlier, and it went from my brain. But what part of your job do you love doing?
I love the creative aspect in terms of seeing a client's brand and elevating it. So if we do build a product for them, blowing their mind when we show what the product could look like before we build it. And that's the process where it's a real strength of mine. And without sounding arrogant, like the team say, we need Stuart on this call to go through this process. So I like to think I know if something looks good or bad, and I enjoy that process. And when a client goes, oh, holy shit, these designs are amazing, I didn't think our website or our app could ever look this way, I've worked with the designer or the UI UX team to do that. And then eventually when you launch it and that product's live, it's a nice feeling, because we work not just with big companies, we work with startups and SMEs, and it's nice to see that a client who has a limited budget, we've built them something that generally will drive revenue or change. And it could be a charity that we work for, or an e-commerce platform, or a sports brand. But actually seeing what we've built for a tangible price, because I think we price things really respectfully. We do. We don't take the piss. And what that means is when we build a product, they then tell another person in their industry, Yellow Panther did it really well. That for me is success. And you can go out and pitch as much as you want, but actually delivering great work, having a good case study, and word of mouth, I'd actually say 80% of our work at the moment is due to recommendations.
Would it be fair to say
100%.
that your passion actually is making an impact?
Yeah, and building people and making them enjoy their jobs and hopefully feel impacted. I'd like to think my team don't think I'm a monster. Maybe they do, but I push them hard, but I always listen to them. I totally abide by the point that you work to live and not live to work. And I want them to come into work every day and enjoy what they do and work with good people. And I only hire good people. If you're a prick, you will never work for me.
Exactly.
You'll be gone very soon. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's one. We've got 3 values: people first, share kindness, be creative. Yeah. Sounds very similar to what you're talking about there.
It's a lovely way of putting it.
But I think we can all relate. Like, we're all trying to make an impact. We're creatives, maybe deep down, but we're just trying to make. You want to make people laugh. I want to make people feel something with the content they watch, and
I want to give them a digital product that they love.
So emotional.
I reconcile with what you were saying though, as in so stand up wise, I don't absolutely love it. Like it's most of the time it's really difficult and it's shit and it's but I like relative to that. But I see it as my gateway. As I get to I think it's Maslow's theory of needs, isn't it? The self-actualization of stuff, of what you'd actually spend up doing. Like, what would I enjoy spending my time enough doing to get to the point of being able to then just kind of give back? And you see loads of people go on this journey where they do, and then they kind of go into their bit where they've just gone, actually, you know what? I've earned my chips enough to go and do those sorts of things.
Elliot,
so I understand
I've
that.
probably watched stand-up maybe 100 times in my life. Yeah. And I've seen some ordinary shows, but also I've been to some fantastic ones where you've had the shittest day, you turn up and 4 or 5 acts just take you on a journey, and that has an impact on the day. So whenever you sit in a room and you've got 10 people or 1,000, if you deliver a good quality show and a performance, that impact actually is quite profound. So give yourself that, mate, if you're a comedian.
Mate, I'm just smiling. Can you write that to my dad, please?
Oh, God.
Fucking where you gigging, bud? You don't want to go there. That's shit.
Agenda.
No, thanks, man.
But it doesn't matter if you're a comedian or a video editor or someone that works for a digital studio. Everything that you do makes an impact. So.
Well, let's all just be fucking good people as we go along, all right? I really enjoyed that. That was a really good...
I think I love you.
Yeah.
Cheers, lads. It's emotional.
Top lads.
Okay, bye.
Right, goodbye.